Okay. Okay.
So they didn't get any of that first part, huh?
No.
That's terrible. I thought we were good, too. That was some of our best, man. That was our best work. Thank you. I appreciate that. No.
7 players.
Who's got 3-4?
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Live at the Bike. We're a couple minutes late, so we're going to get right to this thing. 300, 500, no limit hold'em tonight. Restricted buy-in game. Let's quickly go to the table and introduce the players here, Dave.
Let's do it. Seat number 1, we got Eric. Eric's got about $400 behind.
Yep.
Seat number 2, we got Dave. Dave is Card Sharks. Seat number 3, we've got Gus. Anybody familiar with Live at the Bike knows Gus. Gus will mix it up once in a while, but it's pretty solid.
Yep.
Seat number 4, we've got Ron. And Ron likes to be called Donkey, and if he makes a donkey move, we'll call him Donkey. Seat number 5, we've got Carlos.
Yep.
Seat number 6, we got Jerry. Jerry, pretty tight player there. Seat number 7, we got Tyler. Tyler's put on the show a couple of times. He's pretty tight, solid ABC.
Yep.
Huh? Seat number 8, we got John. John is new to the show. That is some shirt he's got there. I love wine shirts, I tell you. Seat number 9, we got Sean. And
Right.
Sean is also new to the table wearing the World Poker Tour. Binder.
Awesome. So let's get right into the game here. 300, 500, no limit hold'em. 5-5 blinds. Yellow chips are $5 chips. Purples are $25 chips. And seat 9's got pocket aces. He's going to make it 25 to go here. That's Sean. 25 to go. Pocket 3's over here on the button
This
for
is
Jerry.
weird. I feel like we've done this already.
Jerry makes the call. Tyler comes in with Jack-10 of clubs here.
And we got 3 ways. Those are the kind of hands that can crack aces. Well, not this time. Not with a flop of 7-4
7-4
deuce.
deuce with a couple of diamonds here.
My favorite saying.
Yeah, pretty straightforward here. Sean bets it.
Yep, that's with the overpair.
Well, he doesn't have an ace of diamonds in his hand. So he doesn't want to let a diamond come off for free. And he takes down.
Yep.
So Live at the Bike, folks. I'm David Tuckman here with Bart Hanson. If you want to keep the show interactive, because that's what we had, that's the way we like it, email us at live@thebike.com. You can also follow us on a live thread at 2plus2.com.
Right.
Go to forums, go to World Poker Tour and other events, and go to Live at the Bike, official thread for March 28th.
Yep. Again, we're a couple minutes late tonight, Dave.
I'm sorry about that. I apologize.
No, you don't. You
I'll
don't
take
have to apologize.
I'll take full credit for that. It's all my fault.
Dave screwed the show up.
I did it
We
again,
actually
yeah.
already went through the introduction, but we restarted the show. Ace, queen, and ace, jack here. 3 high Broadway cards.
I'm going to go on a limb that no ace is going to come on this flop.
Boy, you're going on quite a limb here.
Yeah. I'm crazy like that. Actually, out of all the hands I'm seeing up there, my favorite hand there is 5-4.
Yeah, that's Gus. He's got 4-5 offsuit. And Carlos is going to raise to 20 here. Carlos, like we kind of said, that Georgian lookalike. Tyler's going to call with ace-queen.
And John did not get involved with ace-jack in the small blinds.
Yep.
Right away, your judgment of that kind of player, you go, okay, he's got a little notch in his belt there.
Yep.
Must be a pretty decent player.
Gus makes the call here. So we got 4-way action here, and King 7 of spades is in the hand. 9-4-7 here. Looks like Dave has the best hand with middle pair.
Yeah.
Seat 2, one of the card sharks gentlemen. Gets
And
checked over to Carlos, who's the pre-flop raiser. He takes a card and the button checks, and the turn is an 8.
And that doesn't change anything.
No, King 7 is still good.
Gus has now got a straight draw. If he catches a 6,
Yep.
he would have the straight.
45.
And Gus is not going to get involved. And you imagine this bet is going to take it down. Neither player has hit anything. Pretty straightforward poker at this level.
Yep.
You're seeing these guys. They raise. They know what kind of hands they want to play pre-flop.
Right.
And if they miss, generally they'll check it.
Yep. Button's going to move over here to seat 8. Small blind seat 9, big blind seat 1. Again, we're playing 5-5 blinds. It's a $300 minimum, $500 max. You can bring your stack up to 500 at any time, Dave. There's no requirements. As we saw Robert Varconi do a couple weeks ago, many, many times.
100, 100,
Yeah,
100.
yeah.
Once again, a lot of aces are out there. Ace 3, ace deuce, and ace 6. are all out there. Now, the ace-6 is suited in hearts. There it is. Seat number 5 is badly dominated in hearts. Carlos has got queen 10 of hearts.
Limped around here.
Now, I like Tyler's hand, actually, ace-3 of diamonds, infinitely better than more than Sean's hand, because he does have those wheel possibilities as well.
Yep. 7-way action here. King 3 Jack here. Wow, what a flop here for Carlos. He's got an open-ended straight draw and a flush draw.
The problem is his flush draw is no good. If the flush comes, he's in a lot of trouble because Sean's got the ace-high flush. And it looks like a great flop, but it's not that good a flop, obviously.
$25 bet here by seat 2. Seat 5 just calls, and seat 9 calls as well. Turns is 6.
And Jerry's not in there with 4-5.
Yeah. It gets checked around, and the river's a jack, and now Dave makes trip jacks.
And Dave escapes all those cards, obviously. A 9, an ace, a heart, and a queen. Actually, no, not a queen. A 9, yeah, just those cards.
Yeah.
Or a 6 on the river would have killed him.
Button's going to move over here to seat 9.
Well, if I bet I get $2, go ahead.
And we're giving out T-shirts here to everybody who rebuys in the game. Card Shark T-shirts.
There you go.
Cool. Button, again, is going to move over here to seat 9. You can email us at live@thebike.com with your questions, comments, suggestions, as always.
Do apologize. We actually had... Bart and I had a great conversation going on for the first 10 minutes of the show, but had to restart.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel like talking about that all again. So, you guys are all going to miss out. Pocket aces for Dave. Look at that.
Yep.
Jack 9 of clubs for Carlos. King 7 of clubs in seat number 9 on the button, and he's going to bump it up to $20.
Okay, he's bumped it up to $20 here.
And the small blind, that's Eric. He's going to call with queen 8 of spades. And let's see how Dave plays this in the big blind with aces. And it looks like he's re-raising it up to 60.
Yep.
And it folds around to the original raiser, who now realizes that his hand is garbage. But you know what? He's going to call anyway.
He does.
And Eric's going to fold. Carlos folded. And we got this heads up. Aces versus King 7.
We saw that King 7 in here hand earlier, too, with a different player. 10, 8, 7 here.
Well, he's got a piece of it.
Yep.
He also has backdoor clubs.
And look at this. Dave is going to continue to bet here with aces. And the button is not going to get involved. Well, King 7 of clubs, Dave. I mean, yes, you are in position, but it's not necessarily the type of hand you're going to get involved.
Yeah, I'm just not sure what you're looking for.
Re-raise. Again, the only thing he's got going for him is obviously he's in position. Again, you can email us at live@thebike.com with your questions, comments, suggestions. As always, much, much appreciated. Again, follow a thread on 2plus2.com. Head over to forums, World Poker Tour, etc. Official Live at the Bike thread here for March 28th.
He's a donkey, but he ain't that big of a donkey. You'll never see me so
Button moves over here to seat 1.
King Queen in the small blind for Dave this time.
Kind of had a rough day out there, Dave. I was chasing the good game all day long, and I'll tell you what that meant in a second here. Actually, one of the weird times. One of the kind of a bicycle casino first for me this afternoon.
Kind of made you regret, like, you figure, why did I even come in?
Yeah, yeah. 4-way action here. It's limped around, so it's a $20 pot. Here we go. Queen 7-4. We got a king queen there for Dave. He's going to bet 20. Now Ron's got a flush draw with 8-9 of hearts.
Yeah,
He's
he also
make
has
the
a
call.
backdoor straight draw possibility here.
Yep.
Wow, and the flush is there, but
Yep.
there's a third 7. The board does pair.
Dave's going to bet here again.
How's Ron going to play this?
Well, Dave also has the king of hearts in his hand.
Yeah.
He's going to bet 40. Let's see what Ron does here.
Looks like he's got some raising chips involved.
Well, he says he's just going to call here,
Wow,
Dave.
just calling.
So the pot's now about 140 as we go to the river, and the river's a 5. Well, now if king queen checks, you got to know you're good here, and he's going to put a nice little value bet in here. Looks like about a 75 to 65 there, Dave.
I mean, the only hand you can...
And Dave rightly folds.
Yeah.
There you
Well,
go.
you got to start looking at it. In no limit hold, if the guy calls you there, you can't beat a 7 anymore. You can't beat hearts anymore.
Right.
I mean, you can beat a weaker queen, but would he be betting a weaker queen?
No, I bluffed Dave out, so I just want to make sure he...
Button's going to move over here to seat 2.
You know I got it.
And that's one of those times where if he raises the turn, makes it 50 more, seat 2 almost has to call because he has a king of hearts in his hands.
Right.
I got it.
I flopped king. I mean, I got kings. It's like $100 pre-flop.
So I don't want to go over this.
So then he's like, flop.
Got another guy with a visor on the table there, Dave, in seat 9.
An email here from Kim DeFazio. Are you concentrating a lot on getting and keeping your erection? Good to know, thank you. Appreciate it, Kim.
Try Viagra. Well, hopefully not at this age. If I'm doing Viagra, if I'm taking Viagra now, it's big trouble for me later on, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Especially because you're not married.
Yeah.
And you're single.
Well, I was thinking more about the age factor.
Yeah.
Seat 6 is going to raise here with ace jack offsuit.
Well, all those factors involved there.
Yeah. And we're not going to see a flop here. Again, you know, it was funny. I was talking about that that show, Big Love on HBO, where the guy had to take Viagra. He was struggling with keeping 3 wives happy.
Actually, it brings me back to the Ron White special I saw the other night. He had a great segment on when he took Viagra. Ace King offsuit in seat 5. Carlos has got that. Queen Jack suited in seat number 6. It's a hand I like to play, especially if I'm in position. Now, it's always interesting. Let's see what Ace King does in the big blind.
Yep.
Can be a tough hand to play out of position.
I can't play implied odds because really
And Gus has got 5-4 offsuit on the button. He's going to limp it. He's going to toss up the nickel in there. And Carlos is going to raise from the big blind. Little value raise, make it $20 more.
Yep.
Won't necessarily get anybody out. But he does raise the price of admission. Gus probably wouldn't have called heads up, but he might call now that Jerry got involved. No, he's not going to call. And that's going to get Ron out also. And we got Ace King versus Queen Jack. Queen Jack does have position on him.
Wow, Ace Jack 10 here. Well, Jerry's got a pair and a straight draw, and
Yeah.
Carlos also has a pair and a straight draw.
Yeah, they both have a gut shot, obviously. They both want the other player to hit 2 pair. Jerry also has backdoor diamonds.
Carlos is going to bet 50 here.
Not a real good flop for Queen Jack of diamonds. Not the flop you're looking for.
Yep.
Because you've got to realize that if you hit your straight, first of all, you've got to realize if you hit 2 pair, you might not be good. If you hit your straight, there's no implied odds because it's a one-liner to a straight.
Right.
And pretty much the only card you want to see on the turn is a jack.
Another thing you can do is actually add us as a friend on your MySpace page. If you go to myspace.com, check out the Live at the Bike page, myspace.com/live at the bike. Spelled out, David.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And email us, please, at liveatthebike.com. We'd like to read them. Button moves over to seat 4. Once again, this is a restricted buy-in game. 3 to 500. Gameplay is pretty big, and I was saying before, this game is really, as far as I'm concerned, this is like starting level of no-limit hold'em professional playing.
Right.
But I really think, I think you can beat this game. If you play this game full-time, I think you can probably beat this game at a probably a $6,000 to $7,000 a month clip.
Yeah, I've heard that, you know. I've actually heard some people say it was more, but I kind of find that a little bit difficult to believe. But the good thing about this game is you don't expose yourself that much because you can go up and you really only started at 500.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
I mean, the other bad thing about it, though, too, is that sometimes you'd like to have people covered right away, and you don't get kind of lucky in the beginning.
Yeah, Eric's going to raise it up here with ace-jack offsuit. And I don't know if John is going to get involved with this. No, he's not. He's going to take it down. John's a pretty tight player. We've only seen him play for about 10 minutes. But
John actually folded from up front there.
Yeah, we've already seen him twice now throw away ace-jack offsuit.
Yeah.
And if anybody knows us, ace-jack offsuit, I absolutely hate that hand.
Yeah, it's a real garbage hand.
Um,
Button's going to move here to seat number 5.
Now, this game, I mean, I'm thinking about it. If you played, let's say, 40 hours a week, 4 weeks a month, that's 160 hours. And let's say you were able to beat it at a $50 an hour clip. That would be $8,000. I think that's probably a pretty good rate at this level.
We got a couple of big hands here. Eric in seat 9's got pocket aces there. Sean. And we got pocket queens over there. I believe it's for Donkey Ron in seat 4.
Well, let's see if he donkeys off some chips here.
$25 raise. Looks like he's just going to smooth call with pocket queens. And you wonder if he's going to get in trouble with the ragged board here.
Yeah, I mean, is he playing it slow? Is he trying to trap him?
I don't know. We'll see here. $50 pot heads up. Queens against aces. Here we go.
Oh, man, look at the queens.
Set of queens here.
Ron peels off that set.
Let's see what Sean's going to do.
And that's a pretty bad flop for aces. It really is. Because there's a lot of hands you can't beat now. You can't beat a set.
He's gonna bet 50 here. He bets the pot.
Oh, look at look at oh man, darn! What am I gonna do now?
Now a lot of times we will encourage raising in this pot, not necessarily because you don't think your hand is good now, but say what if the jack of spades were to come? I think Sean would easily be able to almost get away from the hand, right?
He might be able to, yeah.
And now if you raise him, he might commit a lot of his chips on the flop.
Well, it's certainly tough to put him on a set here.
He just
you
makes
can
a
put him
smooth
on king queen.
Turns a deuce, a diamond, so that's pretty much a blank.
And the only hands you're really scared of here are, let's say two pair, or a set of fours, or possibly some sort of spade draw.
Seat
say
number
jack
9
10.
here is going to bet 100. And I think that Ron is probably going to raise here. Well, he's shaking his head, pulling on the act.
And that is such a tell, such a screaming tell. Anytime somebody shakes their head, acts like they don't like the flop, and then raises you.
I mean, this game we talk about sometimes when we have Monday Night Limit. If a guy like this raises you on the turn, is there any way that aces are going to good, and now he's going to raise? It's almost like when you get a raise.
Yeah.
Actually, he just called. And the river's a third, spade, it's a king, and there you go. Now Sean checks, and now he can't beat anything. He checks, Ron moves all in, and that is a huge, huge action killer for Ron when he probably could have got money.
I was going to say, it was funny, you were saying...
And look at that, he gets away from aces, and that is a perfect way...
Hey, great laydown by Sean.
Of why you would not play 3 queens that way for Donkey
Great
Ron.
laydown by Sean.
C4. I mean, these card sharks guys watch the show, right? Does it just go through one ear and right out the other?
The funny thing is, you were pointing out the jack of spades was the action killer.
I love the close-up.
That was probably the biggest action killer you can get. It's top pair. The top card of the board paired up.
And it's a spade.
And it's a spade.
Can't beat a flush, can't beat now the top pair.
What can you beat? I mean, this guy was betting. This guy was calling me the entire way. What was he calling with?
And I was going to say, though, it's almost like on the turn, if he raises you, you almost know that one pair is no good either.
Probably.
Sometimes, you know how people in limit wait to raise till the turn, you know.
Same way.
But that killed.
Yeah, if seat number
Absolutely
4,
killed him.
if Ron raises the flop,
Yeah.
there's a good chance that seat number 9 re-raises, all the money goes in right there.
And I think that Ron left about $200 on the table there.
Yeah.
Again, you know, you're not fast playing because you're afraid of the strength of your hand. Heads up. But there's so many action killers, and we saw a clear-cut one of them. I'd say the jack of spades, probably the king of spades, is the worst card that you can see with 3 queens there as an action killer.
Yeah, it was funny, actually. I was playing the other day, and I had quad 5s. I had flop quad 5s. The flop came out king 5-5.
Yeah.
And the guy next to me actually had king queen.
Yeah.
And I was betting my hand the entire way, and I got a good amount of money in the pot. And I'll get to the end of it in a second.
4-way action here. It's limped around. King 8-9, rainbow. Nobody has a king here. Ron's got an 8.
Yeah, he's got the best hand going on right now. Tyler's got backdoor diamonds.
He started doing the highway, and I'm like, I'm dominant. I think I'm
Checked
gonna beat
around
him.
here, Dave. Turns a 6.
Well, now Tyler's got an open-ended straight. Now Ron actually has an open-ended straight draw with the 8.
And,
he has the best hand.
And John's got the nut flush draw. And now Gus is going to throw in a bet here to the gut shot 10. He's going to bet 20. Ron is going to call. Now, again here, this is a spot where if you're John, I think he's a little bit too passive from what we've seen. You get a bet by Gus and a call by Ron. Especially if Jerry were to call. I don't think he's going to call. But even now, a bet and a call, you can check raise semi-bluff.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so far
With
we've only
ace-deuce
seen that he's
spades.
tight. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if he's passive or not. We'll see.
As opposed to calling, he could throw in a raise here. Now, he's just going to call. If he threw in a raise, he would probably take it down. Here we go to the river. And the river is a 9, and Ron's good here.
Yeah. And you imagine he's going to check the round unless Gus takes a shot at it.
Well, yep, he's not going to bet against 2 people.
No.
And the 8 is good. Yep, there it is.
John asked there. Anyway, so finish my story there. So I had quad fives. The guy's got king queen. The flop comes out king 5-5. We were betting the entire way. Now on the river, an ace came off, and I bet, and I moved all in actually for about like maybe $1,000 more. The pot was already $2,200.
Right.
And the guy goes, "Oh man, you got there on the river."
Yep.
And I'm trying to plead him. I'm like, no, I didn't get there on the river. I'm like, okay, well just take the ace away. Don't even use it.
Right.
Call me. I don't need it. Like the worst card of the deck comes up on the river. I'm like, no. Come on, give the guy another king instead.
A little post here by CW Signo 2+2 says, Bart or Tucker, you guys going to try to satellite to the 50,000 course event? And the only satellite I know about is on Full Tilt. And yes, I am.
Yes,
I don't
you
know
are.
about you. I've actually played that horse event the last couple weeks. I cashed last week, this past Sunday. Got a little raise here by Gus with King Jack of Diamonds out of seat 3. Now, John's got pocket 7s in the small blind. He's going to call. That'll be quite the field, though, Dave, of players. My goodness.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I still maintain that a lot of the players that'll be in there, they might not necessarily be the best of the best in terms
Right.
of, you might be, I would put you up against a lot of those players.
In a mixed format.
Yeah. Definitely.
Gus is going to bet 40 here. He's open-ended. Not a real great flop for 7s. Again, if you think the guy's got ace-king or ace-jack here, again, you're up against overcards and a straight draw. And I think it's rightly so that John does not get involved there with 7s. Yeah, boy, it would be interesting if they get, say, a 200-person pool, 200 players, and the prize pool is like 10 million. Oh, man.
I can't imagine
200
getting that
players.
much.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think that, like, say, at least maybe 130 people might buy in and maybe another 30?
130
No, maybe
people buy
not,
in?
Maybe not.
I'm thinking more like 50 people buy in.
And I don't know how many. I don't actually know of any other sites offering those satellites.
I'm going to predict
Horse event.
like maybe an 80-person field.
80-person field?
Still, though, 80
Yeah.
people,
For
$4 million.
$4 million prize pool, yeah. That'd be great. Again, it was funny. I was talking to you about
Pocket aces again.
Yeah,
Look at this.
Pocket aces for C5. My weakest game in horse, and I don't necessarily think I'm really weak in that game, but the one that I have the least amount of experience with is stud high. You get a raise here by seat 5. Pocket aces. Makes it 25 to go.
better if it was just a sole queen. I wouldn't be able to put you on.
And again, I think that you always have your strengths, and mine's an Omaha and limit hold'em.
Of course.
And 8 or better, too. So seat 7 here is called with that dominated ace-jack. See if he flops a dry jack, is he going to get in trouble? Well,
There it is.
jack 9-8. Now, it's not a great flop for aces. There's a lot of other draws that could possibly be out there.
A lot of draws, but not that many made hands. I mean, unless your opponent has queen 10 here, 9-8. Even if your opponent has jack 10, you're still ahead.
Yep. Seat 5 is going to bet 50.
And Tyler's going to raise this up right away to 100.
I gotta fire another salvo on the turn.
And C5 just calls.
Yeah, you're just going to make the call here.
Now, the turn comes out a scary card. You wonder what Carlos is going to do with his aces.
Turns an 8. Well, that's not necessarily that scary.
No, not at all, actually.
You're ahead of jack 9 now.
Right. And if your opponent had jack 10, well, that's less outs, obviously, because a 10 is no good number.
And he's going to bet here. He's going to bet 100 into a pot that's about 300. He's only betting 1/3 of the pot here.
Well, you see what he did there. He bet. He got raised. He called the raise, and then he let out on the turn right into
Yeah.
the raising.
Why would I even bet? Why would I even
And Tyler's got to reevaluate this. Is it possible that ace-jack is good here?
call it? Why am I
I probably, the king hit on the river. I think you got the absolute most.
And Tyler's in really bad shape, obviously. He needs one of the 2 remaining jacks to fall in the river, and he's not going to get involved. He's going to throw this away.
Yep, he's
Good
going to get
laydown.
rid of it. It's a nice laydown there by Tyler. Again, if you want to email us, you can. live@thebike.com. Questions, comments, suggestions. As always, appreciated.
Button moves over to seat 9. Small blinds $5. Big blinds $5 also.
Yeah.
And Gus will be under the gun.
Yeah, I was gonna muck if I didn't hit my queen.
There we go. Gala doles out the cards. Ba-dum-bump. Jerry's got king-queen suited.
Yep.
Kind of middle position. Let's see how he plays it. It's a hand that if I'm going to bring in, I'd like to bring it in for a raise. And sure enough, he does.
He's
Makes
going
it
to
$20.
make it 20 to go here. So anyways, because we kind of did a show a little bit beforehand, we restarted.
Yeah.
I was telling you, you complained that it was too cold in here?
Well, no, okay. Like I said, I was actually really enjoying the weather today. Anybody in Los Angeles, it's actually really cold in Los Angeles, and it's raining. I was really enjoying it.
Well, look at this. We got a call by, Jack 9, and Eric has flopped the flush draw with Queen 9. And he's going to lead out. Now, Jerry has got King Queen. Tyler's got a gut shot to the 10 with backdoor diamonds. So Eric bets 60 here. Now, is Jerry going to raise him? Call me crazy. I actually had a similar situation like this in the 5-10 game.
Yes.
I sometimes might call here just to see what the guy behind me does, as opposed to commit more chips.
Call one time.
It puts you in a tough spot, though, if he calls behind you.
Yeah, well,
No, he's going to raise.
the problem is if you raise and then the guy behind you moves all in, well, now
Yeah.
you just committed a lot of chips, and you can't possibly be good with one pair.
He raises, and Eric is going to call. Looks like it was just a mini raise here.
Yeah, sometimes the best way to play that hand, obviously, is to call.
Yeah.
Always a million ways to play every hand, but you can call the flop. Kind of a safe card comes on the turn. That's not one of them.
Turns
But if a
an
safe
ace.
card were to come on the turn, then you can check raise him. Then you can raise him big on the turn.
Now, Jerry can't beat the nut flush draw now because it would have paired the ace up. And it goes check, check. It's a $270 pot. Here we go to the river. The river is a 10, but that changes nothing.
No.
Now, is Eric going to fire out here? When Jerry checks on the ace there, Dave, he's going to bet 100. I don't think that's enough. We'll see.
Probably not. The pot is now about $200.
No, the pot's about 370, 100 to call.
Really?
Yeah, it was
No,
about-
60 on the flop only.
And a raise to 120.
Oh, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
So 240.
Yeah,
So pot, you're right. The pot is almost $400 actually.
yeah,
100 to call.
right. And he makes the call
Yeah.
there. And again, it's funny. You had your article about value betting, which you can read on liveatthebike.com, right?
Yeah.
And it's actually on Shirley's website, poker-babes.com.
Actually, I don't know if it's on either site right now.
Oh, really? Well, I know it's on Shirley's site.
Is it on a site yet?
Yeah.
It is.
Regarding value betting. If a guy like Jerry checks on the
Yeah.
turn with an ace, I think that maybe he's got King Queen or something like King Jack, and the river comes blank, and say you had the nut flush draw there, you really, really escalate your play if you bet for value there with, say, ace 5 of clubs and get a call. There aren't many people that can do that.
It's a great play, and you're
Yeah.
100% correct. That kind of takes your poker game to the next level. When you start
Right.
putting your opponents on specific hands, and you
Right.
go, this guy's got a king. I have an ace rag, but I know my ace is good. I'm
Right.
going to put out a little bit of value. Bet on
Maybe
the
a
river.
$150 or $200 bet there on the river.
Even 100, make
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
whatever it might be. But you get called there.
Right.
That's an extra $100.
Right. Again, you can email us at liveatthebike.com with your questions, comments, suggestions.
So you actually saw my article's actually up there on
Yes.
Poker Game? Okay,
Yeah.
it finally is. So I gave it to her like 3 weeks ago, and she hadn't put it up.
Yeah.
I was kind of getting a little insecure about the thing. I thought she didn't like it.
Four-way action here. Jack 8-4 rainbow.
No jacks out there.
You can actually check that out again at poker-babes.com. That's the poker babe. Gus is going to bet 15 here with a gut shot to the 9. The flop is Jack 8-4. Now Carlos, he's got a gut shot to the 10, Dave. And no one else really has anything. He's going to make the call. Well, you wonder if Gus is going to continue on here. Pot is about $50 now to the turn. Well, the turn's a 9, and Gus makes the straight.
Now Carlos has got a pair. A pair of 9s,
And Gus is going to bet 30 now. Kind of that little small bet into a $50 pot, building a pot up for himself.
Yeah, and Carlos's draw is
He's
he
drawing to a
calls.
chop.
That's all he can do.
And he makes the call.
And you can see the odds there. Obviously, the 7% chance of chopping the pot.
Does want to catch a 9. I wonder if he'd get involved if a 9 comes. Well, the river's a 7.
Oh, he's got a flush draw now. Does that mean anything?
Unfortunately for Gus, that's now 1 card straight. And he'd love to have the guy have a 10 because he's got the goods with Queen 10 now.
There's oftentimes actually will I'll overbet that,
Absolutely.
hoping he has a 10 and he can't get away from it. And if you're a good no-limit player, you've got to realize that trap. If a good player overbets that board and you have a 10 and the pot is not laying you a lot, you
Right.
should probably throw it away.
Yeah, you might put the guy on a 10 when you bet the turn there and or bet the flop there. He calls the turn he calls. He might have something like 8-10.
Yeah.
probably don't have much in it.
I mean, Carlos only has one pair here.
It's a mistake that a lot of inexperienced no-limit players make. And if you are putting a lot of money in, hoping to chop, you cannot survive playing no-limit hold'em. And I was telling you about a hand I played last night where I actually was faced with a big all-in bet on the turn,
Right.
knowing that at best I was probably going to chop. Maybe I had about a 7% chance of winning the pot, and I was hoping to chop the pot. But in that case, I actually thought the pot was laying me enough odds where I had to call.
Why don't you write that one up?
I will, I
It's
should.
a little too complicated to explain verbally. Let's take
Okay.
a look at a chip count. But if you write it up at the end of the thread, I think it's interesting. So we got just about 4,000 on the table here. Let's take a look at how the differences are for the night. Ron is up 350 there in seat 4 with that hand when he actually had
Set of queens, yeah. And Sean obviously down to 300 from that hand.
Got an email here from Chris C. He said, "Hey, Bartmeister, this is probably more directed to you. Headed for Bryan Head, Utah for some boarding tomorrow morning. There's room for you. Snowing buckets there right now. Will continue for a couple of days." Well, I don't snowboard, but Dave does.
Oh, man, look at this. Great boarding and then 2 stops in Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh, man, pick me up. Game on.
Got a raise here by Eric out of seat 1 with ace queen. Another email from Anthony De Silva. A lot of times people will email us this question. We don't really have the correct answer, asking about what internet no-limit hold'em books are up. I'll throw that out there. Maybe
An
someone will.
internet no-limit hold'em
Yeah,
book.
I don't know. Eric is raised here with ace queen, and Carlos gets away from that trouble hand in the blind king queen.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be honest that my no-limit, my internet poker experience is probably maybe 10%, not even, probably 5% of yours.
Right.
I just don't play online that often.
I actually don't play online that much these days, Dave, anymore. Like
just
I
because
used
pretty
to.
much Sunday night poker tournaments.
Yeah, I actually played a little bit last night on Absolute and No Limit. I kind of donked it up a bit. I just wasn't. The other thing about Absolute, too, is that they're all 6-handed games. And, you know, I like playing short-handed, but I think you need to feel that you need to pay attention a little more, and it's no limit. I'd rather play a full ring game, and it's really hard to come by on that site now.
Is it?
The no limit $4 games, which is an 800 max buy-in, and the $2 games. But they've got a great bonus system and a rake back, so I like playing on that site.
Now, the 6-handed game, what are the blinds in that game?
Well, the $4, the $800 buy-in, it's 2-4.
Okay.
So it's you can actually buy in for 200 times in that game.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so it's a good game.
Get a close-up there of Tyler.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. Brent Cook had emailed us. This is something else that we pointed out. He said that Lane Flack actually watched the show, and then he emailed me a link that didn't work, and now he's emailed it to me again, and I'm going to read it here
Oh, that's awesome.
in a second. Cool. So you call the action.
Okay, I'm all over it. Button in seat 4. You know, we get all these emails like, hey, can you guys make a signal of where the button is? Now, if you're looking at the table, you see that little white disc there? That's the button. Seat number 9, that's Sean. He's going to make it $15 with ace-king offsuit. The button, Ron is going to call this with a badly dominated hand. He's got ace-10 offsuit. And there's the button. Kind of call it a puck. Flop comes out queen 9-3. Misses both players. Sean is still is in command of this hand, but he's out of position. And you wonder if Ron can bet it and take it away. And Ron's going to take a shot at it. And he bets $30 into about a $30 pot. You wonder if Sean is going to get involved. It's not a very good flop for ace-king, and it's not. He's going to get away from it.
Yep.
Ron uses the power of position and takes it away.
Well, I just read through this, and this was Brent Cook. I guess Lane, he was actually just saying that this is something that we pointed out. It was just a strategy. Lane Flack didn't actually mention the show, which is what I kind of thought. He was just talking about inducing a bluff. Oh, okay.
I got you.
Thanks for getting our hopes up, Brent.
Lane's a nice
Thank
guy,
you for the
actually.
link, though.
Lane was out here, I want to say, but I met him about a year and a half ago at our Legends tournament.
Yeah.
And I played a satellite with him. Really nice guy. I ended up sitting next to him, and we got involved in a couple of hands.
Yep.
He bought me a Dr. Brown's Black Cherry.
Really?
And we were talking about, about him dealing and playing poker and all these different things. He's a really nice guy.
He was supposed to be like the best dealer ever, right? I heard something like that. No, I mean, like,
Really?
I heard some on some TV, like, or I read somewhere that he was the most incredible dealer, like, ever.
It
The
doesn't
best dealer
surprise
that
me.
anyone had ever seen.
It doesn't surprise me. I mean, obviously, anybody that's that good a poker player is obviously focused and is paying attention to the game.
Yeah.
And to be a good dealer, you have to be paying attention to the game.
Dave here is raised with pocket nines, and Gus is going to re-raise here in the cutoff with ace king. He's going to make it 100 straight.
And it's tough to play nines out of position here. I mean,
Yes,
if you
it is.
smooth call this, the flop comes out rags. How do you know if your opponent has tens, jacks, or ace king?
Right.
It's really difficult. You know, when it comes to the point where you can't really call, I mean, it's too much money to call for a set. Not a bad laydown at all.
People also on 2+2, Dave, talking about that reverse tell that we talked about with the guy with queens shaking your head. That is a big tell, too.
Huge tell.
Yeah. But again, you know, he'd left money on the table by not fast playing the flop.
Yeah.
He really did. And again, you know, even on the turn, if he says, well, I'll wait for a turn card, maybe aces will get involved. I got to tell you, if I played aces that way against that guy, I bet he called and he raised me on the turn. Probably, unless I know he's a really advanced player, I don't think one pair is good there.
Probably
when the
not.
juice of diamonds comes.
Probably
you call
not.
me stupid, and, you know, you might be able to get me to lay down some hands, but you've got to be really advanced to make some sort of semi-bluff plus pair
Yeah.
raise on the turn there.
Well, the funny thing is, once in a while, somebody will see me make a big laydown like that, and they'll think, oh, I can bluff Dave.
Right,
And then another guy will do it, and I'll call him, and they'll go, how did you call his guy?
right.
You know, it's obviously you're playing against the players.
Now, Eric here's got pocket nines. He raises, and Gus just chooses to smooth call here with ace-queen suited.
Now, Gus does have position on him. Now, if an ace, a king, a queen, or a jack were to come off, you wonder, and if Eric checks to him, you wonder if Gus can take it away.
Well, we're heads up for $50 here.
Yeah, Carlos did not play the 5-6 clubs.
Interesting, because Carlos is pretty deep, but I guess Eric is not that deep. Wow, look at this. Eric's got top set, and Gus has got overcards and a flush draw.
Oh, man, the money could really get in here.
And Eric is going to bet.
Eric's not that deep.
Yeah,
either.
that's just what I was going to say. That's why 5-6 of clubs didn't call.
Yeah, this is this is pretty easy. I mean,
This is
Gus
going to probably be a move in and a call.
I would imagine.
Now, Gus is pretty much on a pure flush draw. Hopefully, the board doesn't pair because his overcards are no good, obviously. Eric bets right into top set here. With these stack sizes, with ace-queen, you have to make this call or move this all in.
Oh,
He
it's a
doesn't have anything.
no-brainer.
Yeah.
I mean, if you put Eric on jacks, or even if Eric showed me two black kings,
Right.
I would call this thinking, okay, I've got 12 outs, any ace or any heart.
Unless Eric is hiding some chips. Did Gus just call? I don't know what he's doing here because is he going to get away from it? Eric only has like 25 left, and he puts it in blind here, Dave. Here we go to the turn. Turns a 3.
Well,
And
now he's
again-
got more now. Now Gus has got,
Yeah, he's got a wheel draw now to the 4.
right, I mean, he's got a 4, a heart.
He calls. And the river's a queen, but that's no good.
Right, he probably thinks that's good, though.
Yeah,
But no, it's not.
yeah. That's a monster flop for ace-queen, obviously.
Huge.
Yeah. Yeah, more outs with the wheel draw, huh, on the turn? Wow.
Well, yeah, I mean, even if your opponent were to show you, let's say, jacks there, you go, okay, wow, I have ace, queen, hearts, a 4. Man,
Get rid of that hand. She's trying to get you other 35.
Looks like the dealer was pushing the pot.
she was
Oh,
killing
I
the-
don't think maybe Gus didn't realize what it was.
yeah, I think maybe the dealer was killing the wrong hand there.
Yeah. Well, what I was saying about Lane Flack being like the best dealer, if you ever watched him on TV,
Yeah.
the way that how quickly he cuts out his chips to make bets and stuff, he's very coordinated. Actually, the antithesis of myself. The exact opposite.
Right.
If you've ever seen me like try to cut chips and put them out.
I just like the way that. Do you assume I'm stupid? I don't know what that word means.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Bud's gonna move over here to seat 7.
Yeah, he is very adept at.
Yeah, he's just boom,
in cutting
boom,
his
boom,
chips.
boom. And I always think it's impressive. If anyone's ever played at the bike here, these chips are, you figure someone say, my buddies give me kind of shit at home when I'm playing over Christmas. They're like, you still can't use your chips or shuffle your chips. It's because the chips that we have at the bike here are plastic, and it's impossible to manipulate these chips.
Oh yeah,
They're like magnets.
the $100 chips and the $50
Right,
chips are
right.
the only ones you can really play with.
Are the $50 ones play too like that?
Yeah, they're the same as the 100.
Yeah, yeah.
They're really the only chips you can really.
I mean, these
play
ones really get a lot of static on them, and they just,
With. Oh,
yeah. You can't really shuffle them.
people always make fun of me. They go, "What is Dave doing with that chip thing?
Right, right.
Can't do anything with these chips."
5-way action here, limped around. Actually, 6-way action, all spades.
Look at that. Sean's got the ace of spades. Tyler has the king of spades. Nobody has a 10. And nobody has a 4. Oh, there's a 10. I'm sorry. Eric's got a 10, ace 10. He's going to bet a little money, see where he's at.
He's going to bet 30.
Now, you're pretty sure Sean is going to call it the ace of spades. But let's see what Tyler does. Tyler only has the king of spades. And he's going to raise this up.
With the king of spades.
Wow.
That might get Sean out of the hand now. And the funny thing here with ace 10 of diamonds, I mean, do you even want to get involved more? I mean, do you hope that your hand is good? Do you call one time, see if a spade doesn't come off, and then bet the turn?
Yeah, you don't mind. I don't mind lay down at all if Eric makes this lay down. I mean, I actually like the raise here by Tyler. It's better than just calling, isn't it?
And again, Eric makes this call. Another reason why you'd say raise with a small flush, or maybe even raise with a nut flush here, right?
Yeah.
Actually, Eric lays it down. Excuse me. I thought he called. But a lot of people would call there once with ace 10.
And I like the raise there. One of the reasons I like the raise is obviously there's a huge amount of fold equity. If the guy calls you,
Yep.
you can choose to either take the free card in the turn,
Right.
or if you think you can get him off it, you can bet it.
Yep.
Because obviously, if you just call, a fourth spade comes off, you're not going to get paid off. Once again, we're live at the bike, folks. I'm David Tuckman here with Bart Hansen. You can catch us every Monday through Friday from 7 to 10 Pacific time. Pocket aces again. I mean, I think these aces are stuck together.
Yep, that's for Eric. I think it's either the second time tonight he's had him.
Well, Sean's had him twice in seat number 9. Carlos has had him once. And now Eric's had him twice. 5 times in a span of, 40 minutes?
And he's going to raise. He's going to make it 60. He's in the big blind. I don't think we're going to see anything. Interesting little post here by Popper Boy in 2+2. He says, I was playing 1-2 no limit over the weekend. Everyone folds me on the button. I make it 6 to go. Small blind folds. Big blind calls with 2 $5 chips. Dealer collects the pot and deals the flop. Big blind checks. I bet he folds. Dealer pushes the pot to me. He begins to wash the cards when the big blind tells the dealer she forgot to give him the change from the call pre-flop. I didn't make a big issue of it and gave the guy $4. Right or wrong? Well,
Yeah.
if he should have got the change, there's no problem being honest and giving the guy the change, right?
Yeah. Not at all.
Yeah.
Dealer mistake. Happens. They're human. Especially if the guy tossed in 2 $5 chips and said call.
Right. It's going to get chopped around here to the blinds. Of course, in a raked game, you can chop the blinds for a reduction in the rake, only $1 as opposed to $4 flat. Now, in Vegas, it's a little different because they take a percentage of the pot. If you chop it, I don't think they take a rake at all in Vegas.
Really?
No,
Okay.
Not at least at Bellagio, from what I remember. The other thing, too, that reminded me of something of that post was that don't they have games like, not at the Bellagio. I know Bellagio had restricted buying games. But don't they have games like at the Wynn that are like 1-2 unrestricted?
I don't
do.
know.
I think they do. They have these like small unrestricted
Really? Okay.
games in Vegas. It's
The last time I was
interesting.
at Vegas, actually, I haven't been in Vegas since the World
Yeah,
Series.
me either.
And the only unrestricted game that I saw at Bellagio was their unrestricted, I think it was an $800 minimum buy-in game, and the blinds were 10-20.
So they didn't have a game like in between that for between the
The
restricted.
next
and
game was like I want to say 5-5, something like that.
Raise, make it 35.
3-5.
$35 raise here on the button with King Jack, and Eric's going to take it down. Well, the problem I have with that other casino across the way in LA and some of these other casinos, they'll put in that game in between. They won't have like a smaller unrestricted buy-in game. They'll have like that game, the 10-20. And then they'll have like a 5-10 game. Normally 500. The place across the street does 400, which is just absolutely crazy. 400 max, I'm
Right.
talking about.
With 5-10 blinds.
Oh, God.
So basically,
Yeah.
you're buying into that game for 40 times
Yeah,
the
it's like
big
buying
blind.
the 200 game. It's horrible setup.
I mean, to me, I think you need to have a.
And it's a $5 rake off the top, plus one for the jackpot. Sorry to interrupt you.
It's okay. We do it all the time. I mean, I think you need to have 100 times the big blind
Yeah.
to really be able to play no limit hold. You know, if the blinds are 5-10, I need to have at least $1,000.
Yeah.
Blinds 10-20, give me 2,000,
Yeah.
and so forth and so on. Ace Jack, and this time Sean's going to bring it in for a raise, but he's in a little later position. We've seen him; he's folded this in an early position,
Yeah.
and he's also folded this in a small blind to a raise. But here, in position, he's going to take advantage of it, and he's going to get a call by a hand King 7 by Carlos.
Well, there's the ace.
Yeah, there's the ace. Pretty straightforward. I'm assuming this will go check, bet, fold.
John's going to bet.
It's
That's
$30 into about a $40 pot. And he takes it down.
Email here from Neil Wills saying, hey guys, I've added a new weapon to my poker game that's been really working well.
Oh, I love weapons.
I've been playing against hyper-aggressive players lately at my local club. These guys almost always put a huge continuation bet post-flop when I know that they have completely missed the board. In these situations, I've been just flat calling with nothing in position around 90% of the time. On the turn, it goes check, bet, fold, and I take it down. The reason I do this is because if I re-race on the flop, these guys get defensive and always call immediately. If I just flat call the flop, they get scared and release on the turn. Strange, but it's been working well. What do you guys think of the move? I don't mind the move. I usually like to call with at least some sort of weak-ass draw, I'll call it. I don't...
Right,
like
I mean, you do make that move
absolutely
sometimes,
nothing.
though.
Sometimes.
Right.
But, I mean, a draw as weak as overcards,
Yeah.
or maybe a gut shot, or something that I might be able to represent.
Right.
Say I've got a gut shot and it's a 2-flush, and I don't have the 2-flush, but I can represent it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We're heads up here. Pocket 7s against pocket 6s. Sean brought this one in for a raise. Wow, 10-8-8. Is Gus going to get involved? Gus is called in position here.
It's not a terrible flop. And Sean's going to continue betting here. And that's going to put the pressure on Gus.
Yeah, he's going to bet 65. Do you want to get involved? Now, Gus does have position.
35?
A little different than limit hold'em. In limit hold'em, everybody just assumes, oh, you got high cards. I've got the best pair here.
Right.
No limit, though. It's very easy. This guy could easily have 9s, jacks, queens. And do you want to get involved for a big pot?
Is that a $35 bet on the flop or a $65 bet?
Looks like 35.
So he's actually, he is betting about the pot here.
Oh, it is 65. Okay, wow.
Gus is trying to figure out what's going on here.
Now, I guess, I mean, what you're
Brent
saying...
Cook emailed us back. He says, I feel like a complete dick now.
No need to feel like a complete dick.
No, I feel like a dick. And Gus is just gonna move all in. Well, you know what? Sean was short, Dave. He only had a couple chips left, so Gus called. Turn is an ace here, and the river is a deuce. Excuse me. Sean bet 65. Gus, I guess, moved all in. The guy had about 35 left. Friggin', there's no fold equity, but if he has high cards,
Yeah.
but Sean actually has the best hand here with 7s. Couldn't
Right.
quite tell that chip stack.
I mean, I don't mind calling pre-flop with 6s if you think either A, you can outplay your opponent, or you think your opponent has high cards. But if you miss the flop there, why do you want to lose $100?
Yeah,
I guess you just misread his opponent.
Yeah, but in that situation, Dave, if he's going to raise to 20, which he did, and he's got 100 left, and Gus called with pocket 6s. If a rag board come, if you're going to play that hand, you probably would have to push with 6s,
Yeah, I
right?
guess so.
Because you're not going to call to try to hit set.
Right.
The guy doesn't have enough money in front
Yeah.
of him. Remember that? Usually we use that 10 times rule. Button's going to move over here to seat 4.
I mean, a hand like 6s, I mean, I guess I'm just not calling people that don't have a lot of money.
Yeah, with 6s.
Because you've also got to realize that even if the guy has ace-king, there's a good chance if he only has $100, he's going to put his money in anyway.
Yeah, he's just going to bet.
And I don't know where I'm at.
No, yeah, we know you. We looked at the film.
Eric is going to raise here to 40. He's got pocket 8s in seat 1.
Yeah, Gus has got king-jack. He's not going to get involved.
You were catching stuff.
I wonder if Carlos is going to get involved with a weak ace in the small blind. No, he's not going to get involved either, and Jerry's going to fold it also. So you're saying now, let's say the flop comes out ace, 10, 7,
Yeah.
and you've got like 4 or 5 suited. You're not going to call in position
No, probably not.
to try to make a play on the turn, obviously.
But, I mean, you might call it. I mean, one of the biggest hands I won in No Limit was when the flop came out, I called a early position raiser with deuce 3 offsuit.
Right.
Thought I might be able to get the guy at the hand. The flop came out ace high. It was ace 4-10. He bet, and I called. Very weak draw to the 5. But I figured, you know what, maybe...
You thought there was a chance that he might check the turn.
Yeah, maybe I could get him off of an ace.
Or
never
even
know.
pocket jacks.
Maybe even if I was against that guy, maybe I would call with nothing there. But I called with the weak draw and actually hit my miracle card, which was a 5, and he actually had a set of aces. So,
Wow.
Pocket jacks here raised by seat 8. He had flopped top set. Make it 25.
But I guess your thinking was, I'm going to call this guy in position. He's a pretty tight player. Good chance he probably has a high pocket pair. Maybe he's scared of the ace. And if you call one time and he checks to you, you can probably get him off the hand and turn. But that's a play, I mean, the guy referring to the guy's email, it's a play that you can use oftentimes against predictable players when you're in position.
Jay Siegel's written up. Props to Ronnie for getting all those starting hands up. A quick flop response. Good going, Live Bike team. There you go, Ronnie. You ever
We need
listen,
cheerleaders.
you ever listen to a song that you've heard before, and then it was just in another commercial, And the commercial I'm referring to is HBO's Sunday Night Lineup. Have you ever seen Garden State before?
I never saw Garden State.
Oh, okay. There's a song called "In the Waiting Line" by I think it's by 07. I think is the name of the group. Either that or 7-0. 07. Oh, and I just have fallen in love with this song. I have put it on my iPod, bought it from iTunes, and it's it's kind of these like slow-moving female techno-ish vocal
Really?
song. Yeah, you should listen.
Maybe we can get it to be the Live at the Bike theme
Oh,
song.
Great.
825.
Carlos is going to raise here with Ace King suited. I actually just started, using iTunes and buying music. My parents gave me a $25 gift card for Christmas, and I might actually go and buy that album for $9.99 now.
You don't have an iPod, though.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you do have an iPod, right?
Yeah, of course.
Well, I always see you with that
Yeah, I use that
the
little
sand disk.
Yeah, I
whatever
just
that-
use like a little flash driver, like 512K, just so my iPod doesn't get beat up. Although I was actually going to ask Isaac, I could not get music from iTunes into a foreign MP3 player that's not iPod. Do they code it somehow?
Yeah, you can't. Songs
you
from
can't do
iTunes
that, okay.
can't go to foreign MP3s.
Oh,
just
okay.
for iPods.
I didn't know that.
That's actually their whole debate that's going on with France right now.
Oh. I thought it was because it said it was an MP4 file, something like that. Yeah.
Button moves over to seat 7.
Yeah.
Eric is under the gun, and he's going to bring this in, limping actually, with pocket. No, actually, he's got 9.8. That's it.
So I bought it from iTunes,
Right.
and then I had to steal it from Kazaa anyways to put it in my thing. No, I didn't do that. I'm just kidding. I bought it from iTunes, but I had to get a compatible MP3 format.
That's kind of annoying.
I know.
You buy it, and if you have two different
Yeah.
units,
Heads up here between Gus and seat 6. 8-5 deuce with a couple spades.
not a bad flop for sixes at all.
Gus brought this one in with a raise, and I went check, check, turns a jack. I'm just really surprised Jerry didn't bet there on that flop when Gus checked to him.
Yeah,
big.
I think in position you've got to bet that flop.
And now Gus is going to come out.
What do you think, that no overcard could come? And now what if Gus was checking, let's say he had king jack or queen jack or ace jack.
Check, check again, and the river's a jack. And now Gus is going to try to bet here. He's going to bet 40.
And it's an easy call
Yeah,
here
he's
for
going to
Jerry.
get called.
Well, I guess he induced a bluff.
You wonder, though, if an ace or king had come on the river if he would have called.
Who knows, right?
Yeah. Post here by Crackhead on 2+2 says, yes, Win has a 1-3 no-limit game that's unrestricted. Binions has no restriction on any of their low-stakes no-limit games. You'll find some guys with 5 to 10,000 in cash on the table in a 1-2 or a 2-5 game. So there you go.
See, a game like that, I mean, man, your strategy is completely different.
Well, the blinds, there's just no, it
There's
doesn't make
no
any difference.
value to
No
raising
value
the
in
blinds. I mean, and you almost don't even want to raise with big hands because, how much would you raise?
Well, no, I think you would want to raise for, you just got to sit at the table, find out what the standard raise is.
Yeah, I guess so. It's interesting because you might just want to sit there and almost limp in with your big hands because in a game like that, even if I have aces, unless I hit a set, I don't even want to get involved. You know what I mean? I'm just thinking,
I don't know, but
blind's so small.
Is that true about if you buy in the 5-10 game, you got 3 people with 10,000 and you buy in for 22,000? Ace 10 here on the flop. And what I mean by that is, let's say 8 guys have 5,000 on the table in a 1-2 game. Turns a 10, it got checked around, and now
Right.
Jerry fills up. And you decide to buy in for 500. Well, even though you bought in for 500 in a 1-2 game, and that's not short stacked in terms of blind size, you are playing short stacked in a short stacked game in the 1-2. If you follow what I'm saying. You say Jerry.
No, I'm talking about more. I'm not worried about. I'm saying if you're actually in that game for 10K, and the blinds are only 1-3 or 1-2, you've got to realize that you don't want to put your whole stack up to risk your whole stack for some guy raises it up to $15. I'm just thinking the blinds are 1-3. Okay, let's say you make a raise to say 25. I'm not going to risk $10,000 with that small raise.
Right, but that's like any other game that you would be in if you were playing 10-20 and you had.
I guess I view that as there's obviously a little more value to stealing those blinds.
Okay, well,
Especially
you're right.
if you get a straddle pot.
There's no basically meaning of those blinds. That's
Yeah.
the point I'm making. And the other thing I'm saying is, you buy in, say, for 250 times the big blind, which is not inherently short stack. In that game, if everybody else is deep stacked, you are short stack.
Oh, of course.
And
Well,
if the raise is to 90, you have to play it like short stack.
yeah.
It's playing more like a 20-40 no limit game, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, in that game, if you're sitting there with 1-3, you know,
Yeah.
1-3 blinds, it's only going to cost you $4 a round.
Right.
Hey, you can really sit there and wait until a big, big hand, and then just play it really hard.
10-10 deuce on the flop here was limped around and gets checked around to Sean. And he's going to throw a bet out here with deuce 3 here.
Well,
Dave.
he's got 2 pairs. He's got the best hand right now.
Looks like he does.
Well, obviously, if you're in that situation, though, and you're sitting around and waiting for a big hand, you might not get any action when you get your big hand. And he's going to take this down. Nice bet by Sean.
Yeah. No one has a 10, no one has a deuce, no one has a pair. And he takes it down.
Turn would have been an ace, but
Probably would have hit somebody.
yep.
We've got an hour down in the show. Again, you can email us at live@thebike.com. Tomorrow night, of course, we'll be back with our 25-50 unrestricted buy-in whale game at $3,000 minimum. You know, I was looking at a thread over in World Poker Tour this afternoon.
Yeah.
And they have this thread that goes on in 2+2 sometimes. Actually, sometimes every week. It's probably the 100th time. Who's the hottest poker pro? We've talked about this a couple weeks ago. And there's this chick named Jeannie Gluck or something like that.
Jeannie Gluck?
Supposedly plays the 100-200 over at Commerce. I've never seen her there. But, yeah, she's quite a cutie.
Jeannie Gluck.
I think her name is Jeannie. I don't know. Someone can help me out there.
All 3 on the flop. 10, 10, 10. 5 or 5. And it's 100.
Got a raise here by Eric. He's got ace queen.
I say the hottest
30 to
poker
go.
player out there is my wife.
We'll choose after the 10. Just going to ruin a jackpot, by the way? No. Sorry. No, it's like it's a side thing. I love this.
Is your wife listening tonight?
Probably not. She's not feeling well.
Eric's going to take it down there with
Poor
ace
soul.
queen.
I think all the cold weather and the rain and kind of got the best of her. So she's home, nursing a little cold.
Yeah, it's miserable here in LA. Last winter was really bad though.
Yeah, this hasn't been too bad. I mean, we haven't had like almost no rain until this month, so not too bad at all. Button moves over to seat 2. Carlos is under the gun. He's first to act.
Pocket jacks here for seat 4 in the small blind. Actually, he's in the big blind.
Big blind. There you go.
That is Donkey Ron.
Now, seat number 9. Sean's got ace jack suited in late position, and he's going to limp in.
Wow, he just limps in there, huh?
Eric's going to limp in with king 10.
Suited. And it gets around to the big blind. And he's going to raise to 30 here with jacks.
And he's going to get called by ace jack and called by king 10. He's got to dodge some overcards now. And you wonder if Dave's going to get involved. And this is a hand I easily throw away, and Dave's going to get away from it too. I don't mind limping in on the button with ace 9, but in a raised pot, I don't want to play that hand. Ace 9 offsuit. I have no idea what I'm rooting for. If the 9 comes off, I might be good, I might not. I don't want an ace.
Well, Queen 8-5. There's one overcard, but jacks are still the best hand now. Gus is in there with ace 10.
Now, when you raise and 3 players call you, you don't love that flop, do you?
No. He's going to bet 40 here. Kind of a weak-ass bet.
40 into $120 pot.
Yep.
Well, that weak-ass bet is probably going to get it done. It's one of those times where Gus might be smelling it out.
You know, we talk about getting more and more advanced, and, you know, if somebody doesn't have ace-queen there, if you get called once, I guess you got to reevaluate the player. But say I've got a tight image, David, you call me on that flop. You know, I guess I can pick my spots better with jacks, but I can continue to fire and get you off of a hand like king-queen, right, on the turn.
No, I would call you. I would put all my money in forever. There's no way you'd ever get me off king-queen. I would immediately assume you were bluffing me. I think when I'm playing against you, you always assume I'm bluffing you, don't you?
No, not really.
Okay.
I'm the one that's ahead, remember.
I know, you are. You're up like, I want to say you're probably up like $500 right now. Heads up. I'm not happy with that at all.
Two of the calls were kind of drunken calls.
Yeah, actually,
Drunken calls.
most of the time we've played against each other, we've both been a little inebriated.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a heads up, live at the bike heads up thing for $500.
Yeah, at the end, maybe a Cinco de Mayo thing at the end of the show.
That would be great. Maybe our producer will throw in a $500 free roll for the winner.
Yeah. Three-way action here. We had a raise by Gus with pocket fours. King 6-7 here. Jerry and Carlos called.
Yeah, Gus has actually got the best hand here, and he's on the button, and he does not bet it. Why don't you bet that? I don't understand.
Turns an ace. Well, now Carlos.
Now Carlos has gotten it. I just don't understand. If you're going to range with fours on the button and you get two callers, isn't the point of that raise to use your position?
Well, can Gus represent something here on the turn? C5 is going to bet.
I don't think so. What is he representing? Ace-Queen? I mean, I guess he could represent Ace-Queen.
Ace-Queen, Ace-Jack, Ace-10.
But Ace-Queen wouldn't raise here. Ace-Queen would probably just call here, right?
Well, you know, if I played fours that way, and like you said, I wanted to represent an ace, it's kind of gutsy to Carlos. He comes up and bets on the turn after I check the flop when an ace appears. Now, if I call the turn, he's probably going to check the river to me. And again, if I think obviously fours are no good if I don't make a set, I've got to be confident that he is advanced enough to realize that I might bet ace-queen or ace-jack for value there. Because a lot of times somebody wouldn't bet ace-jack.
Yeah, that's a lot of ifs.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's giving that other guy a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes you overthink that a little bit too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sometimes, so I do it all the time. Sometimes I give my opponent way too much credit.
Right.
And I don't realize that they're betting when they have it, they're checking when they don't have it.
5 players.
Ace, Jack, Jack here on the flop. Now, Ron's got ace 9 in seat 4.
Queens. Run in between.
That would have been 25. That would have been 25.
I just don't understand the point of raising with fours in late position if you're only gonna try to take it away if you hit a set. I mean, that's why you're raising?
No, he asked me if
Dave has bet 20 here. You know, one of the other things I've really noticed, especially with some of the advanced players, even in the 5-10 game, is if you watch their raise sizes pre-flop, it really gives away their hand.
Oh, totally.
I mean, there's no way that Mo is going to raise with 35 with aces in that game.
No.
He's got a small pocket pair. He's got a suited connector. You can easily, like, say, you call with king-queen from up front, out of position. If flop comes king out, you can easily lead out and not be scared.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Like,
There was a guy last night where I was playing with him where literally his raises would range from $40 up to $100. I mean, that's insane. I mean, this guy was raising at 40 with, like, king-jack, queen-jack, hands like that, even jack-10. But if he had ace-king or ace-queen or a pocket pair higher than 9s, he would make it $80 or higher.
Got a raise here by seat 9 with king-queen, and he's going to take it down. This is a really tight game, Dave.
There was actually a point last night where the guy made it $45 to go, and I had, like, pocket 3s, and I decided to throw them away. I just didn't think they were great implied odds if I hit my hand. But then he made it $100 to go. Somebody else called, and I had the same pocket 3s, so I called, thinking a good chance he had aces or kings or queens.
Brent Cook actually sent us another link. I won't be able to read this, but he was talking about, actually I remember hearing about this, that Negreanu wrote about buying in the 5-10 game at the Wynn, which I think is the biggest no-limit game they have there, for $125,000. We had Raymer. I think the biggest player that ever bought into a game here was Raymer, way back when in February last year.
50K?
40.
Well, I was actually bought in a couple of times. The Grinder had 35 on the table on Friday night. No, Wednesday night, sorry.
Remember, that's 25-50 game.
Right.
Well, Jerry has raised it the minimum on the button with pockets 5s here. And we're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-way action.
Now, this is a different play. Raising the minimum with pocket 5s there might actually buy you the turn card for free as well.
Now, look at this. 2 players have overpairs. Dave has pocket 9s, and John has pocket 10s.
But watch, let's see if they check 2 of them and gets the free card.
See, that's the thing. You know, if you watch somebody who raises the minimum on the button, if you've got 10s, you have to bet.
Oh,
I love the bet by Dave here. You're not scared of an overpair?
No,
way.
Definitely not.
And I'm surprised that John actually checked the 10s from up front here. You know what I mean? I mean, against a mini raise, what else are you looking for? I would bet lead right out there if I'm John. Now, let's see if John might check raise. Well, Jerry is still in the hand. And he's going to get involved.
And what do you do if
He's
you're John?
actually going to raise. He's going to make it 100. You know what? If I've got 9s here, the way that this went out, this might drive John out. But if I'm looking at the hand and I have 10s or 9s here, I think I almost put him on like 7s or 6s. I'm scared. I hope to God he's not good enough that he raises me with a set of 8s here. But I'm really not that scared if I'm Dave. Remember, he mini-raised it on the button. Would he do that with 10s, jacks, queens, kings, or aces, Dave? With 6 people in there?
He probably wouldn't, but once again, are you giving him too much credit?
I'm just saying, it's funny we talked about that, and here's a perfect example of it right
you're
now.
100% correct. I'm just wondering if we're giving Jerry too much credit. Might he have made a mistake with queens by raising it too little?
I don't know. I mean, we've seen Jerry. He's not a donk by any means. He's been on the show many times. Maybe against someone you're not.
Well, he's certainly representing jacks, queens, or kings.
Yeah, and Dave's going to come back over the top here. And now Jerry probably can easily fold his hand.
Yeah.
He's going to make it 100 more. And this is actually might be a little bit of an information raise. Because if Jerry actually came back over the top again, I think Dave's done with the hand. He's actually raised it 100 more. And again, more power to Jerry. If another reason why you would raise there with 3/8. You're getting more action. Now you could smooth call.
Now, this is one of those times where I don't think you can smooth call this, actually, if you had, with 5s here, you can't smooth call this.
No.
He lays it down. Because the problem is, on the turn, if Dave puts out another $100 in there, he's then pot committed and you can't get him off the hand.
But what I was saying was that if he had 8s, you could smooth call there.
Yes.
So it is an interesting situation. And it actually, it's funny how sometimes we go into that and exactly what happens there. A $10 raise on the button. I mean, that's like in the 5-10 game, limp, and someone raises it to 20 on the button. What do I give that guy credit for?
Right.
And if he's dumb enough to play kings or aces that way, you almost don't want to re-raise.
No.
I mean, if the guy is bad enough to do that, he might be bad enough to not get away from aces or kings when the board comes out deuce, 4 with 2 diamonds.
Right.
And there's 8 people in there. You know what I mean?
And he wonders afterwards, he goes, how did you call me with ace deuce?
Right.
You've got to realize a lot of times when you talk about a raised pot and you go, what was a pot raised to? And they go, well, it was a 5-10 game and it was raised to 25. I go, no, that's basically a limped pot for all intents and purposes.
Got a raise here by seat number 3 with ace jack off suit. And Tyler is going to call here. He's played it pretty tight with king, queen, and diamond. Sean's out of the hand. So we're heads up here. Gus is in the lead. And here we go to the flop. Well, blank. Gus is pretty aggressive post-flop. See what he's going to do.
Well, Tyler's really passive, so.
Gus is going to bet 50 here. Wow, and Tyler calls him in position with overcards here. See if he can represent the spades. The turn is the 5 of diamonds here.
Well, Tyler's now got nothing.
Now, again, he's calling on the flop with as little as overcards. I don't consider king, queen to be absolutely nothing there.
No.
With overcards, you can represent a spade. What is Gus going to do now?
Well, I mean, I'm hoping he's calling on the flop thinking he can take it away on the turn.
Gus checks.
I mean, you're not calling just for your overcards, are you?
Yeah. No, and there you go. Tyler's going to bet. So here we go. Another example of calling in position here with a hand as weak as overcards.
Little tell there, by the way. If we go back to his hand there, you see how he put the chips out there? First, he kind of fumbled his chips when he was putting them out there, and then he actually dropped one off.
Yeah.
And notice how he fixed it.
Right.
He fixed both mistakes.
Now, the problem here for Gus, though, is he can't beat ace-queen or ace-king. I mean, he has pretty much the worst ace that anybody would ever call him with.
No, it's an easy laydown.
But look at this, though. He's going to check raise them all in. He might have a tell on Tyler here.
Well, he might have picked up the same tell that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, if somebody fumbles, and obviously quickly.
Well, Tyler is still in the hand, but I don't think he can possibly call here. I mean,
177.
It's 177 more.
And he's gonna think for a second just to save face. He doesn't want to muck right away and let it know that he was bluffing here.
Yep. And again, like you said, he fixed his chips there, kind of put it out sloppy, and then tried to fix it.
And you wonder if Gus picked up on that. I mean, obviously he had to. And Tyler, I mean, the exact move the guy emailed us about, and we were talking about,
right.
Tyler tried to make. And it was a good try, but Gus snuffed it out. And obviously, Tyler throws his king high away. You're not going to call an all-in bet there.
Got a couple of emails here. Raymond Charles Clark says, Bart, Scott Huff has an interview with her at Card Player Magazine. Maybe he can use his power to hook you up. Well, I would take Liz Lou, though.
Jean Gluck? What's her name? Jean Gluck?
Jean Gluck.
Jean Gluck.
But hey, let's plug Scott's show, the Circuit, because we're on there. If you head over to cardplayer.com, check us out.
Yeah, Scott's a great guy. He really is.
And another email here by Chris in Wisconsin, he said, if you take a look at who's the leader after day 2 in Reno, it's Gil.
Gil!
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
Of course, Gil always tears it up in the lower buy-in tournaments. I didn't even know he was going to Reno. But
Gil's a good tournament poker player.
Absolutely.
He really is.
Ron's going to raise it up here to 25 with Jack 9 of hearts. Jerry's got Ace Queen of hearts. He calls. He also said that Liz Lou and Barry Greenstein are doing well.
Well, I mean, funny thing is, Gil is just one of those tournament players that you just haven't heard about yet because he hasn't been on TV.
Right.
But he is one of the better tournament players out there.
Wow, look at this. Jack 9 flops a pair and a straight draw, and Jerry has missed, and Jack 9's going to come out and bet. He raised it pre-flop. He bets 40 here. Now, again, with this type of flop, 10-9-7, you could call here with Ace Queen. There's a lot of things that you can represent with the turn. You do a backdoor hearts. Again, we talk about calling in position.
Right.
Now, I don't think Ron's going anywhere in this case, and I don't know if Jerry's advanced enough to make this move.
I mean, oftentimes, if I find myself trying to outplay players and trying to win every single pot, you can always pick your spots. You don't have to make the move every single time.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to one of the guys that plays over in that 10-20 game over at Commerce and that 20-40. They plays with Jonas a lot. And apparently, I think Jonas had a little bit of a bad streak towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year. And he said he's played, hundreds of hours with Jonas. Really respects his play, and I think a lot of people on the show do too. But I think one of Jonas's leaks in his game is that sometimes he will try to win every pot and outplay people too much when he should just sit back and wait sometimes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Chip count here. We got $4,000 on the table. Ron has the most money. Tyler has the least.
Yep.
Let's see how they're doing. And Ron is in first place there, up $450.
Yeah.
And Sean and Tyler will bring up the rear. They're down about $300 each. And hopefully for their sakes they can turn it around.
We've got a little raise here. I believe it was by Eric?
Somebody took jacks. That's twice.
Well, Eric's flop trip jacks. Check here on the flop. Ace, Jack, Jack. The turn is a 6. You wonder, and I know that Eric is he's going to watch this probably when he gets home if he can. I know he watches this show a lot. And I'm not saying that we're right all the time. Now, Jerry's going to call with a gut shot here. Now, if the river comes 10, is Jerry going to lose? Is Eric going to lose a lot? Well, the river's a 4. It's a blank. It's a third spade, though. I've played enough with Eric that he continues to slow play trips. Now, it is heads up and it's a rainbow board. But, Dave, I mean, I've seen him, say the pot was limped around 7 ways in the 5-10 game, and he had limped in with the ace 7-7. The flop comes out with 7-7 deuce. And the game isn't all that aggressive. He'll check that on the button. Now, I'm saying, occasionally okay, but it's almost a pattern that I see with him.
Yeah.
He's not to the point where he's betting his good hands.
Trips are dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, I was actually just talking to you about a hand before, and I'm going to write it up on 2+2 later.
Yeah, we're going to write
and maybe
that
I'll
one
actually put it in my blog as well this week.
Yeah.
So everybody can figure it out.
Well, we had a post here by the Dirk Diggler, the guy 123. You had that open question about that hand with Mo had King, raised it pre-flop against Corporation Mike. They were heads up. It came ace high, Mike checked, Mo bet, and Mike check raised, and Mo folded, and Mike had pocket 10s. Right. And apparently we're doing really well with the streaming tonight, and this guy said that due to some of the problems, no one really heard your response from last week, so let's get into that.
Well, that was it. I mean, basically, it was a question just thrown out there.
Yeah.
Mo and I, and you and me, and all of us will often talk about how to play a hand.
Yeah.
And I was kind of just throwing that question at our viewers.
Jerry raised here with ace-king.
4 players.
4-way action. Well, there's the ace. Ace, deuce, 3, all clubs. No one's got a club. And this is, could be worse, I guess, for ace-king. I don't know. I mean, you might throw a bet out here, and if you get called in a couple spots, you might have to shut down.
Yeah, Ron's got the 7 of clubs, but, I mean, does he really want to get involved with that one?
At the table.
And Jerry's going to throw that continuation bet out here.
And he'll probably take it down right here.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was an open question. And in the end, there really is no correct answer.
Yeah.
It was just basically the whole scenario was, for anybody listening new, Corporation Mike was a very loose, aggressive player, extremely laggy player. He raises an early position. Mo re-raised on the button with pocket kings. Everybody folded. Mike calls. The pot is now $1,200.
Right.
The flop comes out ace, rag, rag. Mike had $20,000, and Mo had about $15,000. So they were both very deep. The pot was $1,200. and the flop comes out, like I said, ace, rag, rag, Mike checks to you, and the question was, what do you do if you're Mo? Now, Mo chose to, he bet, Mike check-raised him, and Mo was forced to throw it away. I actually said that I thought the best play would be to actually check it if I'm Mo. Because if I'm beat already, hey, I'm beat. Maybe I can call the turn. I can induce a bluff also. A lot of ways to play that hand. But in the end, there really is no correct answer. I thought, in my view, against Corporation Mike in that specific, in that specific hand, I probably like to check it in position with kings. I'm keeping the pot small, and I'm also inducing a bluff. And when Mike bets on the turn, well, then I can cross that bridge when I come to it, and I can kind of read him then and figure out, does he have an ace or not?
We got a little raise here by seat number 5. Seat number 6 is going to call. So Carlos raised it with ace deuce here out of the small blind. Wow, little mini raise. Again, I never understand this play out of the blind. He's going to raise, going to put more money in the pot with ace deuce off suit. And some of these guys play tight, and you wonder when this move. I mean, 8-5 deuce here. Pocket sixes are good. He's got the only spade in his hand.
Yeah, no, the move makes no mistake, no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
I'm looking for excuses not to play hands out of position.
Right.
I'm looking for excuses to put less money in out of position. I don't want to put more money in out of position. Now, obviously, there are times to raise in the blinds. In a limped around pot with ace deuce offsuit, a mini raise?
Yeah, I just don't get it.
Not much value to that at all. Now, he's going to continue betting here, and he might take this down, and he is going to take this down. Gus does not get involved. I mean, I guess you can raise in the small blind and take control of the pot. And if nobody else really hits the flop, hey, you can bet and take it down. But you can probably do that anyway.
So you want to know what's going through my head right now?
That song.
This song?
Oh, man. Jesus. Things I got to deal with.
Hold on. See if I can get this louder.
You're not going to start singing, are you?
That's going through my head.
Wow. I've never heard that song.
Yeah. Have you not?
I've never heard it, no.
Got a raise here by Ron with pocket tens. John's got ace queen.
And there's the queen.
Yeah, there's the queen. Queen 8-5.
That's actually a pretty good flop for ace queen in the sense that there's only one overcard. So you might get some action from Ron. And John is going to bet right into Ron. I like the bet.
Yep.
I like that bet. Bet right into the razor. Now, there's not much of a draw out there. If you're Ron, you got to look at this and go, well, my opponent either has 6-7, or he's got a queen, or he's on crack. And John doesn't look like he's on crack, so he's probably got a 6-7 or a queen. And do you really want to get involved? But Ron's going to call. And there's the 9. Ron has now got a gut shot straight draw. If a jack were to come off or a 10, Ron would win this hand. And John's going to bet again. He's betting 75, it looks like, into about a $120 pot. Maybe a $110 pot.
And then he wouldn't let me leave. I was like, I gotta go. I was leaving. He's like, come on.
And I got to tell you, you tell me there's nothing the physical tells. Okay, remember when Ron had the pocket queens and he was doing all that acting?
Right.
And now you look at him and he looks sick. I mean, it's just...
He does have a gut shot to the jack here.
Well, the problem with now the 9 comes on a turn, you can't even beat 6-7. Look at the flop. Now, John bet right into that flop.
Right.
What was he betting? There's no flush draw out there.
The other thing, too, is if you catch a 10 or a jack, it's real tough for somebody with ace queen or king queen to call because it's going to be a one-liner to a straight.
But he's going to call anyway.
Yeah, he makes the call here.
And Donkey Ron is alive and well.
Got about over a $200 pot here. Here we go, the river. River's a deuce.
And how about another bet here from
John?
John?
How about a little value bet here from John?
And look at that. He's going to value bet. I love it.
He's going to bet 100.
I love the bet.
He built himself a pot with one pair. Now, this is by no means a monster hand, but if you think the guy's got jacks here, he's going to bet again.
Well, what are you losing to? Remember, he was raised free flop. Unless the guy has specifically Jack 10, and he called for the gut shot and hit it. What do you think he has here?
Played that one. I made the final table one.
You know what I mean? I mean, I think it screams like Ron has got, like, I think it actually screams that Ron's got pocket jacks or pocket tens. And now you're not going to call. I don't.
Yeah. Well,
He called in the turn. I guess he thought maybe he was getting the odds for the gut shot and hit his 10.
yeah.
And Ron says, "Do you have the queen?" And John said, "Yeah, I had it."
We showed up and the rooms were $1.
I mean, sometimes you got to replay the hand in your head, and you got to go, "Okay, this guy bet on the flop. What was he betting with?" And out of all those possibilities, is there any hand I can beat now?
Right. Email here from Fugari at AOL.com. Who do you guys think is the best all-around female poker player?
I have to say my wife again.
An interesting post also by Baron Vangor Toth, talking about how sometimes people say, well, if you got to keep your pre-flop raises consistent. He doesn't understand that, because if there's 5 or 6 limpers, you actually want to raise more than...
Clearly,
I know
yes,
that Barry
yes.
Greenstein said that, and I don't know how much he was talking about all the time, Dave. He's always making it just 3 times the big blind, no matter how many people limped in front of him.
No, I mean,
I don't buy it.
it's a good point from Baron. Of course, let's say your customary raise in a 5-10 game
Right.
was, say, $55 or
Right.
$60.
Pocket kings here for Dave.
But 7 players, smooth call, you might have to make it 100.
Sean here is called with Queen 5 of clubs, so we're heads up. Look at this. And
Wow.
I think Sean might... Is Sean all in here? I think he might be all... No, he's not all in.
They're just shouting.
Oh, I guess they're playing like a pair game. It's Gus has got queens, so he's collecting some money.
That's 'cause he's a
That's why
girl.
everyone's crits. Queen, queen, 8 here on the flop. And Sean's going to bet 50 right in here with trip queens.
They're playing the prop game. It's just a smaller version. of it.
$20, yeah.
How cute. Sean moves all in. Dave actually calls.
Queen, queen, 5 on queen, queen, 8 on the flop. Turns to 7.
Dave's got outs.
Yeah, Dave's got backdoor spades, but he does not come, and Sean is going to take it down there. There you go.
And the action went basically, Sean actually checked it. Dave bet, and all the money went in. Sean was not very deep.
Yep.
All of you guys picked your number before I did. Absolutely. Yeah, because I knew they would come totally random.
There we go. Rocking and rolling.
I didn't even see the queens. No, I didn't see them until they called. Until they called them.
Button moves over to seat number 6. That's Jerry. Small blind is Tyler. Big blind is John. Sean is under the gun. First to act. Under the gun. Speaking of under the gun, if you want to check out my latest Under the Gun blog, you can go to live@thebike.com. On the left-hand side, there's Under the Gun with David Tuckman. You can check out my blogs all the way back to last year's World Series. And
Yeah.
I will have a new one updated probably tomorrow.
Very cool.
And there's a couple of posts on the 2+2 post on the board that I want to get to.
Again, somebody else.
Because you're talking about that 1-2, obviously a very, very small blind game
Right.
with unrestricted buy-ins. And obviously you've got to be raising. But the blinds are, like you said, completely
Right.
irrelevant.
Limped around here, 7-6-4, all clubs. Jerry's got 7-9. He's got top pair, and he's got looks like the second highest club. John's got Jack 10 with 10 of clubs. And let's see if Jerry's gonna bet here with 7-9.
Oh, everybody checked him on the button. Why not?
He bets 30. Now Ron has a very, very bad open-ended straight draw with 3 clubs out there.
Yeah, that's an open-ended straight draw that is essentially worthless.
Yeah.
Because even if you hit it, let's say the 3 of diamonds were to come on the turn,
Yeah.
your opponent's got redraws.
Right. You can never really play the hand that's true.
No, you can't.
Button's going to move over here to seat 7. So there you go. I never can pronounce Gil's name. We always just call him Gil.
Well, that's what he goes by.
Parmjit Gil.
Wow, look at that. Gil's in first place.
Yeah, he's in first
Rock on.
place.
I love it.
I'll tell you another guy that actually is not really, say, quote-unquote known in
Yeah.
poker that's good tournament player is Kevin Song as well.
Yeah.
In 3rd place. I don't know if you're familiar.
I'm sure I know his face.
Yeah.
Summer of 82. Pretty much was. That's why we made them.
Limp here.
Yeah, there are a lot of things when you're raising a pot, obviously, pre-flop in a no-limit game. There are a lot of factors you've got to take into account how deep you are, how deep your opponents are, what is the customary raise at the table, how many players have already limped in.
Five-way action. Look around. And Gus has got queens again.
First of all, Gus has got queens, and Gus has a queen. Kind of double whammy here for Gus.
I don't think it's just not the same with like $10, you know?
No, it's not. And now Gus is going to bet it.
Norm Santiago? You want to make a bet? No,
I don't know if he bet or not. Is that a bet there? No, that's his money, Dave.
Oh, I thought he was betting that, too. I was like, wow.
Well, you know the funny thing about this is I guess none of the players object, but sometimes we'll get emails and say, does that money play from stack to stack? Now he's just made it almost an additional $200 in a prop bet the last two hands.
Right.
And I guess if somebody were to object, that money would have to be taken off or something like that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, theoretically,
Yeah.
the players that lose the prop bet should actually take it out of their pocket.
Right. Gus does bet and he takes it down there.
But obviously this is kind of a friendly game. They're playing
Right.
prop bets. They're not
Right.
going to go crazy there.
All right, enough with the queens already.
I guess my biggest point, though, when I was talking about, we were talking about that game, whether it be at Binions or Win,
Yeah.
where it's a really small blind and you have a lot of money. If you have $10,000 and the blinds are 1-3, just be aware of the fact that you don't want to lose your $10,000 stack if the pot is only raised to, say, $15.
Right.
I don't know. What did you call with?
That's a photo of him, but we queen five. That's
Well,
a
how much
photo
was
of
the
him.
raise? 20 more? Yeah, that was
Limped around here.
Well, that's kind of a good story. A guy that came last night to Live at the Bike, he actually wanted to play on the show last night and play in a limit game. But he couldn't get in the game, obviously,
No,
because
this
he couldn't spread the limit game.
Different guy.
I'm going to tell it anyway. I'm going to
different guy.
stick with my story.
Okay.
Anyway, he couldn't get into our game, so he went down and played the 8-16 game, and he hit the jackpot.
Okay.
$22,000.
Because the point, I understand what you're trying to say, but he actually played in the game, Dave. So people know who
I'm
he is.
sticking with my story. I don't care what anybody else says.
He
Damn
played
it.
in seat 3. Seat 3 hit the jackpot last night.
Did he really?
Afterwards. Yeah.
Oh, the Crusher.
Yes, the Crusher from seat 3. It wasn't called necessarily the Crusher. That's what I was trying to get at.
The guy next to JR.
Yeah.
Okay.
The guy in seat 3 went over and
I was
played
on a
the
roll.
8-16.
I was just going with it, man.
Actually, we had a guy come down, 2+2 a private joker. He wanted to play in the 8-16 game last night. And,
Oh, I thought it was him.
yeah, it was apologetic, but couldn't get in the game. But I showed him around the booth and stuff, and hopefully we can get that game on next week. So
And I get this. Somebody's already defending your song. They actually, Tuck, don't be hating that song is money.
Yeah.
I don't mind the song. I just don't know it. Is Garden State really good?
it's pretty good.
I
I mean,
mean,
I don't appreciate it as much as, say, my roommate who's from Jersey.
Okay,
Maybe people with Jersey.
I have a
love.
DVD. I should probably see
Yeah.
it. I'm going to watch it. Okay.
Limped around the freeways. I mean, I like those movies. I love Rushmore. I love Napoleon Dynamite. Those kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I like Napoleon Dynamite a lot.
King 9-4 here. A couple clubs. And Dave is going to come out and bet with Deuce 4 here. Jerry calls it the flush draw. So we're heads up, and there's the flush.
And he's got a straight flush draw.
Yep.
Dave's got absolutely nothing. I mean, he's got a pair of deuces, a pair of fours. And look at the drama.
So anybody ever listen to that whole 07 album? Is it a good group? Because I want to go and buy their albums. I like that sound.
Well, go to iTunes. Check it out. You can preview all the songs.
Gets checked over to Jerry, and he's going to bet. Really? How long can you preview them for?
You really don't. You
You mean you can actually
you're
preview
that new?
preview audio of them? You mean
Like
the
30
first
seconds
oh,
of it,
really?
yeah. You can get like 30 seconds of any song.
I just started buying music, quote unquote, legally.
Oh,
Online.
okay. I'm
Yeah.
like an iTunes and an iPod whore. I mean, I think I have 4 iPods now.
Did you see the movie Lost in Translation?
I love.
There's
Lost in
this
Translation.
there's this group.
Great
It's actually
movie.
this Canadian chick, Peaches. She does that song in the strip club. Her genre of song is called slutcore. If you remember that,
That's classic.
that song, it's kind of like shots.
Whoever wins the next hand.
Very, very graphic.
I do
Techno
remember
music.
that, yeah.
Yeah. Got a
I love
raise
Lost.
here.
That was a great movie.
Raise here by pocket threes in seat 7.
Whoever wins next hand gets a t-shirt. Whoever flops, I got pocket aces. I don't want
The
that
next
there.
pair also will get a T-shirt.
Once again, we're live at the bike, folks. I'm David Tuckman here with Bart Hansing, and you're watching No Limit Hold'em. This is a restricted buy-in game, 3 to 5. Blinds are 5 and 5.
Yeah, raised by pocket threes is going to take it down there. Best restricted buying game in town.
It's not even close.
Now, somebody actually emailed us, and I've heard it from other sources too. They were saying, yeah, that 400 game over at the other casino is really restricted, but hey, it's an action game. I mean, the other problem I have with that game was the fact that they take an extra $1 off the top. So
Yeah.
it's 6 off the top in that game, plus the restrictions.
I mean, in a game like that, where you're talking about 5, 10 blinds, where I'm only buying it 400, I'd
it's
almost
6
have
off
to,
the top of every pot.
I'd almost have to get up to $1,200 before I can even start really playing poker.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what I
I mean,
usually
the only thing I'm wondering, what if you get like, okay, I'm in there for 300. Let's say I have like $360. Okay, I've lost a couple of small little antes. I mean,
Right.
blinds, whatever. 4 people limp in, and I raise it up with Ace King to like 85. Am I almost pot committed now? I mean, I'm putting in
Crazy.
25% of my stack with Ace King.
5-way action here. It's limped around. 7-3-3. It looks like Ron. Actually, Jerry's got the best hand with an overpair. Let's see if he throws some money out here, Dave.
I think it's a no-brainer bet here for Jerry.
Well, Ron is going to come out and bet. He's going to bet 15, which actually can freeze somebody if you think that the guy will bet out trips from early position.
I think
too.
you need to raise this, though. You raise it up to find out where you're at. If the guy checks 10 in turn, well, then you can say, okay, do I want to bet one more time and take a free showdown, or do I bet, or do I check it
Yeah.
and control pot size that way?
He raises.
I think it's an easy raise there. And I guess whoever wins this pot gets a T-shirt, and so give Jerry a T-shirt.
You know, I kind of have a similar hand to this, Dave. Flop came out today in the 5-10 game. Flop came out a paired 5-board, 5-5 deuce, and I'd limped in under the gun with 10s.
Right.
And Brian, the Asian gentleman, who we have a lot of respect for the game, his game, he checked. I bet with 10s, got folded around. He called. The turn was a blank. He checked, and instead of, again, me checking to control pot size and also the possibility of an overcard coming, I bet again on the turn, and he called. The river paired the bottom pair, and he bet the river, and I kind of safely folded my hand.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess I could have taken the free card on the turn, but, you know, say the turn came, the river came blank, he might be capable of putting a bet there on the river.
Yeah, he also could have come out a queen and beaten you that way. Who knows?
Yeah.
I like betting. I mean, if you don't really like your hands, I'd rather you bet on the turn and then get a free showdown.
Right. That's what I was trying to do. And I think he was a little bit suspect of his kicker because he knows, that I will bet out with trips as well.
Right.
Because he never check raised me on the flop or on the turn. And then, when the board paired at the end, he was pretty confident.
And he bets into you. Hey.
Right. King 3 deuce here on the flop. It was limped around. Carlos has got the best hand here.
Wednesday night's really good, probably, right?
And we got a bet here by Carlos. Going to bet 40. And he's going to win a T-shirt here.
Wow, that's big. Huge.
Get a couple of emails here from Brent Cook. We'll get to in a second.
Thank you.
Seat number 2, seat number 4, and seat 2 and seat 4 here are Card Shark people. As obviously I'm wearing their Card Sharks.
I didn't get one of those. Well, actually, no, I do have one of those. Okay.
And you can check it out at actually it's cardsharks.com.
With the X in the end.
Yeah, and they do a lot of poker paraphernalia, so check it out. Button's going to move over here to seat number 4.
All right, next one to bet gets a T-shirt.
Get a couple of emails here. One is from Fugari. Once again, he says, who is the best women's player besides your wife? Who do you think?
We
Hard
don't-
for us
we
to
don't
say,
get
obviously.
to see a lot of those players say. I'll go into my spiel in a second. Here.
Okay.
6-way action limped around.
A lot of Broadway out there. 3 kings are dead.
Jack 6-3 here.
Now, Ryan and Tyler have the same hand. They both have King Jack.
20.
Tyler's going to bet 20 here with King Jack.
Yeah, you'll probably get heads up between Ron and Tyler real quick.
We got a raise here
Just got a little mini raise here on the button. Get a little information.
with King Jack and a call. Boy, you know, if you're Tyler here, you just hope this gets checked out. Well, the turn's an ace here.
Wow, now this will be interesting. Can either player represent this ace?
Well, King Jack checks.
And
Button
King Jack
bets, and I can't believe Tyler's going to make the call again here, Dave.
Wow, what can you beat with King Jack there?
Almost nothing. River's a 9.
And it's going to check
gonna
down.
get checked down. I got to tell you, if I played King Jack that way and I'm Ron, I might bet the river thinking my hand's not good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you might think the guy's got.
Well,
Wow. Boy, I
you have
guess
to
you
put him
would.
on a hand,
Yeah,
though.
what
I
would
mean,
you know? Wow.
I actually might bet the river thinking he has Queen Jack, actually. You might bet for value. Because obviously it's real tough to put him on Ace Jack if he didn't raise again.
Now, what I was going to say was that when we talked about good players, and what I was going to say about female players, we only get to see females on TV in tournaments.
Exactly.
And Shirley would kill me because I said this once, and I think that she misconstrued my comments a little bit. If you Google my name in quotation marks, the first thing that comes up, we say Bart Hansen plus poker, is an article that Shirley wrote on her website, again, poker-babes.com, about how she couldn't disagree with me more. Saying
That's
that
the first Google.
that's the first. Saying that tournament poker players aren't good poker players.
I read that,
and
okay.
that's not what I said. What I said was just because you're a good tournament player or you do well in some tournaments does not mean that you're a good poker player. And I think that there's a difference. And again, kind of a roundabout. I don't really know the answer to the female question because we only see these ladies in kind of controlled, like GSN, kind of these stupid, escalating, edited blind shows.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So you don't really know. I don't know. I mean, when I think of a good poker player, I personally like to think of a cash game player. And if he's really good, he does well in tournaments and cash games like Ivy and Greenstein and Negreanu.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, if you're going to look at players like that, well, then you've got to point to players like Jennifer Harmon.
Exactly.
Who clearly has
Right.
a record in both. Cindy Violet, who clearly is a great player. Kathleen Liebert, who we've actually had on the show,
Right.
has done both. Is obviously a very good cash
Right.
game player and a great tournament player.
Get a raise here. I think it was by seat 5, Carlos, and Jerry has re-raised in the small blind with 10s.
Yeah. Nice aggressive play, and he's going to take this
Yeah, he's
down.
going to take it down.
I mean, you can also look at players like.
But it is funny when you Google my name, that's
Yeah.
what comes up.
I mean, the funny thing is, I've talked to a couple of professional poker players, and I'm talking about some of the big-time players
Yeah.
that have played with Doyle Brunson and, and back in the day when they played with Puggy Pearson and stuff. And they actually would say, like, a player like Annie Duke, they say that she is not necessarily, they don't mind her in the game.
In a
I'll just
cash
put it
game.
that way. They do not mind her in the game. This is what he would say to me. Now, I never played with Annie Duke, so I can't speak for that.
Well, again, not to plug GSM's High Stakes Poker. I like the show. I don't necessarily like the commentary. I'm a little biased, but it's actually my favorite poker show that's out there. And they love Helmuth in that game. He's dropped a couple $100,000 over the last 2 weeks.
Right.
You know.
I mean, obviously, Marcia Wagner.
Yeah, there you go. Kenna
She's a
James'
great
wife.
women's player.
Yeah.
We had late dinner.
Hey, look at Liz Liu. I mean, she was she
She's
was a cash
phenomenal.
game player.
She's a great
and she,
player.
And she made a great transition to No Limit
Yeah,
Tournament.
she
She's
obviously
only been
knows-
playing it for a little bit.
She obviously knows how to play.
Right. Pocket Queens here for seat 5. Carlos, it got limped to him.
Fairly legal cruise attack. No,
Look at Baron Vanger. He is touting Garden State. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna watch that tomorrow.
Yeah. We get a raise by Carlos. He's going to raise it to 30 here. Now, again, this is one of these situations, Dave, where there's 5 limpers. So are you really going to raise to 15 with queens if that's your standard raise after 5 limpers?
Of course not. Right.
So, you got to take that.
Use common sense.
Yeah, exactly. He actually made it 30, and I don't even know if that's enough. I might raise it more than that with queens. Because he's going to get called, and he's going to take this against 4 players.
Actually, 5 players.
$120 pot. Yeah, I don't think he raised enough. Well, the flop comes out 5 deuce here.
Now it looks like a great flop, but the problem is you look at Gus has now got a gut shot with a flush draw. Sean has a higher flush draw,
Right.
and Ron has got pocket 4s, and he might think he's good.
And you have absolutely no idea where you're at against 5 opponents here with a queen of spades and a queen of hearts.
Yeah.
That's why you would raise more. You try to really thin the field out.
Now you can see that he's about 50-50 against the entire field.
And that's because the clubs are being shared, obviously.
Right.
Now, Gus is going to bet right in here. Again, I kind of like the preach because he would do this with the deuce. He bets like a little mini bet. He bets 40.
The funny thing is Gus's hand looks great
Right.
on paper, but it's actually really terrible because the problem is he needs a 4, and we saw that Ron had pocket 4s.
Now, again, here's the power of what Gus is doing here. Let's say Gus would bet out with the deuce a mini bet. Now, Carlos is raised here with queens. But if I play the same way with this draw, I come back over the top and I play it with the deuce, is a good player going to call me with queens here?
Probably. And he's going to pay you off.
If I do it with the deuce.
Exactly.
See what I mean?
Right. And you don't necessarily mind queens calling you with 3-6
With
here.
3-6. Now, in this case, because there's two other clubs out there.
Right.
But if it was heads up when no clubs were dead,
Right.
it's almost a little under 50-50.
Well, you start looking at it, you go, okay, I need any 4,
Right.
and I have 3 4s plus an additional 9 clubs. I've got 12 outs if I get called. If I don't get called, great.
So Queens is raised here, and this is going to give the opportunity maybe for Gus to push back. Although when you bet, Carlos raises, and you get a call. Well, now you're really scared that maybe someone's sandbagging a deuce, right? The guy over in seat 9.
Well, even more so, you might be scared that somebody's sharing your clubs.
Yeah.
And the problem is if Sean has clubs, you know your clubs are dead, and then you're just drawing to a gut shot.
Now, the thing with Sean is, I mean, he's called a bet and a raise by Carlos with clubs on a paired board. I think that's a mistake right there anyways.
Yeah. Now, Gus is actually in terrible shape here. I mean, Gus actually has 2 outs to win here. He needs a 4.
How about a queen of clubs here on the turn for some action? Well, the turn's at 10. Queens are still good.
Yeah.
Pot's about $320.
Now, Sean's hand he actually needs a king or a club.
Well, it's going to get checked over to queens, and does Carlos really push now? He's going to bet 100, Dave, into a $300 pot.
And that's just not enough. You're pricing your
Look
opponent's in.
at Donkey Ron's face. He's like, he's betting 100 here? Almost playing it like maybe he's got 10s full now. I mean, I might make this bet with 10s full, right? Or maybe
Yes.
I flopped a, 5s full.
Yeah, you almost want to price somebody
Yeah,
into
and
their
you're
draw.
building a pot up.
You're building a pot and you're pricing them
Right.
to the draw. It's really an odd play now because the pot is now 400, 100 to call, and if you're Sean, you're actually priced in.
Yeah.
The problem is you're not at this point. Do you know if your king is even good? Do you even know if your flush is good?
And again, we've got 2 people sharing clubs, so it's that less likely that a club is going to come here.
And Sean's got to be concerned that Gus is behind him also.
I got to tell you, if you or I played the hand in this manner, I've already put us on a full house or some other player. The way that this betting is going,
Yeah.
because it's such a weak bet on the turn, Dave.
Well, I mean, are they both going to lay this down? I mean, the pot is 400, 100 to call. And now Gus, obviously, his percentages go up because any club would give him the win.
Yep.
He needs now a 4 or a club.
Well, again, though, if you play a full house in this manner, you might actually be able to do this committing less chips and get draws out of there.
Yeah.
By betting less here on the turn, thinking that you've already
Definitely.
filled up.
Obviously, you got to be giving credit to your opponents if they're paying attention to how you've been playing earlier.
I mean, I might make this move against Gus. Try to represent a full house. I know he watches the show. I know he's a good player.
Definitely. I mean, the only reason he hasn't called already is he's scared that he's drawing dead.
Now, Carlos seems like a nice guy, but I'm not giving him credit for thinking 3 steps in advance, saying, I'm going to make it look like I have a full house here and bet weak on the turn. I don't buy it.
It's more likely he's betting on the turn like that because he is weak.
I mean, he might be betting here with the intention of folding to a check raise.
He might also be betting not necessarily. A lot of players, I don't want to give him credit that he's betting because he's weak here. A lot of times players just don't know how much to bet.
Right.
You know what I mean? In the sense that he's not the most experienced no-limit player.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, if you go one step further and you go, okay, he's not necessarily weak. He thinks his queens are the nuts, but he just doesn't know how much to bet. $100 seems like a lot to him. He doesn't realize that the pot is already 300 and he's betting on 100 actually pricing in the draws.
Yeah, it was. Okay, go ahead, Jack. They had me scared.
Yeah, I know. That's what happened last
If anybody would have called, then I know we're okay on me.
I know that. I actually put him on a flush draw.
Button over here in seat 7.
If you had called, I wouldn't even have thought about it. You would have mucked it immediately. You were drawn to? I could. I figured you'd be
Looks
drawn
like
to it.
Ace-Jack suited here on the button, Dave. We've
But
got
that
about
actually-
an hour left in the show.
That actually screws me up sometimes. If you ever play in a game with some inexperienced players, sometimes it's actually an interesting play. I've seen this guy, I've seen players, they'll raise it $50. They'll get 2 callers, okay? And I'll have kind of like, let's say the flop comes out like, I'll have pocket 9s. The flop comes out ace jack blank. And the pot's 150 and they bet 40 into it. And it looks like a weak bet, but they actually have ace king.
Right.
They just don't know how much to bet. You've got to realize that sometimes.
We got a $40 bet here on the button. Or a $40 raise after a bunch of limpers. So he's raised at 40 with ace
And
jack
everybody's got the
suited.
same hands. King 10, 2, 3, 4. I mean,
Well, Dave, the other thing that might throw you off there is if you make the right read on the guy as weak, and he bets 100 there, and you check raise all in with 6-3 on the turn, he still calls you with pocket queens without the queen of clubs.
Well, he doesn't know that he's
Right.
weak. You know what I mean?
Right.
He thinks a $100 bet is a good bet.
Right. Carlos is called here, heads up. Well, both players will miss. Let's see if Tyler makes that continuation bet and takes it down here.
Well, he's in position. He's on the button. I think it's an automatic bet on the button. I mean, I know sometimes once in a while you'll check this in position. I mean, I think 9 out of 10 times you got to bet this. You can't let some garbage 10 come off and beat.
He's going to bet.
Can someone get in here? You'll pay me.
He bets 75 here.
Your hand also isn't big enough to induce a bluff. You know what I mean? You don't want to check there and the guy bets 75 into you, and then what do you do with ace-jack?
Right. Button's going to move over here to seat 8. Got a email from Will in Chicago. It says 07. The first album was very good. Very chill, slightly techno-pop. Put it on repeat and make out with your significant other. Thanks, Will. Maybe Will can email me some good hot spots to go in Chicago. I'm actually going there Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah.
Taking that Friday off.
That's a good time to go to Chicago. The
I've
chill is just
actually
out.
never been to Chicago. I've heard that it's the best city in the country. Some people say.
I wouldn't go that far, but it's a hell of a city.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Chicago a lot.
A little better than, say, Cleveland, Baltimore, Detroit.
Well, I was thinking Cleveland. I was actually going to say Cleveland, Detroit were 1-2. Chicago's a close 3.
Oh, yeah, Indianapolis.
Yeah, right up
Albuquerque.
there.
Sorry.
I'm trying to think,
if I'm offending anybody in any of this
What's your
cities.
favorite city in the country?
You know, I mean, I actually haven't been to some of the ones that are supposed to be the best.
Well, out of the ones that you've been to. Maybe people will email
I've never
us
been
with
to
your
San
favorite
Francisco.
city. You've never been to San Fran? Man, you live out here. You got to take a trip up there, man. It's great.
Six-way action here, limped around. Ace, deuce, 4, a couple spades.
Top 2.
Yep, ace,
for
4
Eric.
over there for Eric. He's in the big blind. Let's see if he's going to lead out with it. Real connected board. If you give a free card here and something comes, you have no idea where you're at. He's kind of short here, too.
And the only
Dave.
card you really want to come off is like the 10 of clubs.
Yeah, high blank, and it gets checked around. And look at this, the turns of 5.
And look, and now
And
Jerry's
John's got a straight.
And so does Jerry.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't know what Eric is doing. And now he's going to come out and bet with ace 4.
I mean, what if a spade came off? If a 3 comes off, if a 5 comes off. I mean, if a 6 comes off, he's actually dead too. I mean, there's a lot of cards that could have killed him.
See if Jerry's going to raise here.
See, I don't think... Now, an experienced no-limit player, you actually cannot raise this unless you have the 3 with the spade draw. If you have a 3 with a spade draw, you can raise it huge, hoping your opponent has a spade draw also. I mean, hoping your opponent has a 3 also.
Well, I understand what you're saying. Now, it's going to get raised, and there's a caller. I think that you can mini raise there with the intention of actually folding to a big re-raise.
Okay.
But I might want to get a spade draw out of there behind me by raising.
Good point.
I might not just call a weak bet. But I know what kind of way
I see
you're
what you
going
mean.
at.
Yeah.
You know?
You just don't want to put all your money in there with
Look at
just a
this.
dry.
Eric is called.
You wouldn't want to put all your money in there with a dry 3.
Right. But I might pop it up a little bit. River's a queen here. Now, obviously, a 3 is not the nuts here either.
No, obviously, that's what I'm saying. A dry 3 here. This is one of those times where, if let's say, just for example, this is really deep stack poker, and Jerry were to move in for like $1,000 into this $150 pot. If I'm John, I'm laying the hand down.
Absolutely.
Because at best, you're chopping.
Yeah.
At best, you're chopping. And if you put a lot of money in there to chop pots, you will go broke in no limit hold'em.
Jerry he's going to bet 200 here. And John is still thinking about it here. It looks like he's going to make the call.
It's a nice bet. It's really a nice bet by Jerry. He puts him to the test, and John's going to just call.
And they're going to chop this one up. Dave, I might go so far as to say, think of it as weak play. If you're deep stacked and someone makes a gross overbet on the turn, and you've got spade draw with a 3, you might fold it there scared of 6-3. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, if you had the spade draw, you would.
No, if the guy bets $1,000
if he
to a
makes
$200 pot,
if he makes a huge overbet,
and
yeah.
I've got a 3 with a spade in my hand?
Yeah. Although it is odd if somebody were to have on the turn, if somebody were to make that gross overbet, that would be an odd play. But I understand where you're going.
That is a little bit strange, yes.
I mean, you'd almost think that he'd want to price you in. He doesn't want to scare you out if you have a 3. He'd almost want to build the pot a little bit and then do the overbet.
Say he builds the pot up, and we're still real deep, like 3,000 behind. The pot's now 700 on the river. I've missed my spade.
Right.
And now he bets 1,500 or 2,000. Now, an advanced player might try to bet you off of a chop. But again, you've got to realize that you don't have the nuts here.
Definitely.
Right?
Not even a question. I mean, I've seen so many times where players will do that. with, there's a one-liner to a straight, let's say the board is just like that, and they lose all their money because they have a 3 and the other guy has 3-6. And somebody can go, well, what are the odds the guy has a 3-6? Yeah, but what are the odds you're actually going to win the pot? You're just putting money in there to chop.
Limped around here.
I mean, it's kind of the same theory as like those split games. If you're playing Omaha, you're playing stud high low.
Yep.
You rarely want to put money in where your only hope is to get your money back.
Especially if someone obviously has redraws.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? Anyone who's playing Omaha, you don't want to get involved with a dry ace deuce low when all kinds of draws are out there.
Exactly.
Check here on the flop turns a 6.
You're putting money in just hoping to get your money back.
Yeah. We see it all the time in stud high low where people chase a garbage low with no high possible.
Right.
And they're chasing. We get a $10 bet here by C2. They're chasing, say, a ragged rough 8 on 7th Street, and the board of the other guy has you beat on the high.
Yeah.
Plus, he's got some sort of low going as well. It's crazy.
Or the reverse, if you see somebody actually, one of the worst ones I've ever seen is a guy has like pocket jacks in the hole, right?
Yeah.
Hasn't improved on 5th Street.
Oh, yeah.
You've raised with an ace. And
You got four low cards to a straight out on your board.
Right, and the guys, and you're looking at it going, well, let me put my money in on 5th and 6th and 7th Street,
Yeah.
hoping to get my high back, hoping to get my money back.
Usually, if anybody plays stud high low out there, if by 5th Street a guy has 2 low cards up and you haven't made 2 pair, you really should fold, right? Isn't that a good?
Yeah, and often,
Yeah.
sometimes, if it's against a good player who won't come in the pot unless he has 3 premium low cards,
Right.
even if you have 2 pair and they've caught good and good, you throw it away.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm playing against you and you raise me with a wheel card, and you catch like a 6 and another wheel card, I don't care if I've made trips almost.
Yeah.
I can almost throw it away. I'm only putting my money in to get my money back. There's no point in that.
Get
Unless
a-
there's a third person in the pot.
Raise here by Jerry with pocket jacks. He's going to take it down. And again, for those stud high low players too, you can easily lose jacks up to my aces up with a made low. That happens
yeah.
all the time.
Well,
you know?
a lot of times, that's how people make money. You're free rolling. You've already made your low on 5th
And I
Street.
have aces, right? And I'm free rolling to hit 2 pair.
Even if you run, I've seen players that you've got a rough low on 5th Street,
Right.
and you make runner trips, but you're free rolling. The other
Right.
guy cannot win the pot. He can
Right.
only win his money back. And the only reason we're kind of harping on this is the same essence is
Right.
if you have a straight, if there's a one-liner to a straight, and you're pretty sure the other player has the same straight you have, but there is a higher straight.
And they're also flush redraws.
Yeah,
Or-
you've got to be careful with there.
$25 raise here by C-Date. He's got ace queen. Got an email here, another one from Fugari7. Get to it here in a second. I don't know if anyone's ever asked us this question. It's interesting, I think. So John has made it 25 total. Gus is going to fold. John's played it pretty much as tight as anybody has at the table, and we're not going to see it flop. Okay. Let's say I'm an up-and-coming poker player. Do you guys have any tips on how to get backers for tournaments or cash games, or both? Thanks, guys. Great show. Great show you got there. And it's an interesting question. I personally, and I want to throw this out, maybe it's bad karma for myself, because I know sometimes people who have wanted backing from me have said, well, if you ever go broke and you don't loan money to people, you're never going to get it when you go broke. And I just think that I'm a little bit of a better money manager personally myself, where I usually almost will never back.
Yeah, good job there, Red. Completely threw his train of thought off there.
What was I saying? I rarely back people, Dave.
Right.
Now,
right.
I know you've been backed for tournaments and such. I just don't necessarily think it's a great investment. Now, I think he's asking the other question: how do you become backed, though?
Yeah, how do you get back?
Right.
It's very easy to back players.
Right.
I could walk into the casino at any moment
Right.
and wave $1,000 and go, hey, does anybody want to play a tournament today?
Right. Got a raise here by Gus.
I'd have 30 people coming up to me and ask me.
He's got a deuce 4 offsuit, makes a raise. Gus loves to raise in position with a lot of different hands. I mean, do you ever think it's a good investment to back people?
Yeah, I mean, it could be.
Carlos is going to call here.
I mean, somebody backs TJ Cloutier. It's a pretty good investment, right? I mean, it can be a good investment.
Yep.
But like any investment, especially that kind of investment, it's a very high-risk investment.
Right. Three-way action here. King 6-4 rainbow. Missed everyone. Actually, Gus has got the best hand here with bottom pair.
Yeah, will he bet it, though? He's in position. I mean, I think if you're going to play this hand, you got to use your position. Basically, even if you miss, you got to bet that.
But he checked it. The turn's a 7.
Yeah, I just don't understand that play. I mean, why are you in there with deuce 4?
Well, he still has the best hand. Is he going to bet now?
Well, I'm sure I'll bet now, but
No?
he's going to check it again. I mean, he's just going to let everybody else get there.
Well, there's the jack there, and
And
Jerry
now-
hits it.
Now, and I know this is a small pot, but maybe Donna can just take a quick look at that pot. How big is that pot?
Looks like $80.
Maybe $80?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, about $80.
$80, okay.
Yeah.
That's $80 Gus just gave away. I mean, $80 Gus just gave away. I don't understand. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if you have $80, you're just going to give it away. Give it to me. I mean, I don't understand calling a $20 raise with deuce 4. It gets checked to you once you're on the button. You check it. It gets checked to you. I mean, I don't care if he has a pair or no pair.
Getting back to that backing,
Okay.
oftentimes people will back people when they feel that they're hot. And I don't really believe in streaks and such, but I think that psychologically it might affect that player, like, say, Filial, who had a great winning of the green, where the confidence is his game allows him to play better in that upcoming tournament.
Like any sport or any event you're doing, if you're confident,
Right.
obviously you'll do a lot better.
Got a raise here by ace-queen in seat 9. And-
Tyler's been waiting for this all night.
Yeah, he's in the big blind. He's got kings.
Yeah, I mean, he has really had a tough go of it all night, and he's finally gotten a big hand. And let's see what he can do there.
David's called with a suited connector here.
And I can smell a little re-raise here coming.
Yeah. 20, 60 in dead money, and he is going to re-raise.
Now, Tyler's only raised it, like, once the entire night? I mean, what would you do with ace-queen here?
I think it goes in the muck, especially from this guy.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
this guy's only played about 4 hands all night, but Sean is going to call this. And that might bring Dave in. And I don't mind Dave's hand at all. Multi-way pot, depending on how deep you are. If you think you can win a big pot, that's not a bad hand to play. You know, if you hit trips, if you hit 2 pair, you hit a straight, you hit a flush, you might win yourself a big pot. But he's not going to get involved. But is Jerry going to get involved here? Raise was up to about $50.
Where'd the gambling go? He's all out of it, I guess.
And again, is Sean going to get involved here with a queen, rag, flop?
I imagine he would.
Doesn't
Sean
look,
did get away from aces earlier, so that's a laydown. But
doesn't look like Sean is that deep. And Jerry is going to call here as well. I don't know if Tyler has enough money. Looks like he only's got about 425, Dave. So that's probably not enough for 8s here. I think Jerry is checked blind.
oh, look at that, top set.
Yeah, top full house. See how Tyler's going to play it.
Nobody had 9. And the 9s had been hitting from before.
Looks like he's a little bit shocked.
Yeah, look at that deer in the headlights there. He's like, what do I do?
75.
Well, he's going to try to bet weak. I don't mind it into a $180 pot. Just, nothing.
No, it's fine. You're not going to get any action on. No big deal.
Dave was looking forward just to, like,
Well, of course, what he can.
Man, he was looking at like, I think he's used to flopping an ace when he has kings.
Yeah.
He said, wow, that was a good flop. How do I do that? Now, it's funny. I mean, when I got my backer for the first World Series I played in, this guy Robert Winkleman got, chip count. Man, I'm in the middle of doing something. Chip count here. We got $4,800 on the table now. Look at that, constantly changing. And let's see how they're doing. Shazam. Boom. Kazooie.
That drove my mom crazy with that.
There it is. Oh, it's gone. Okay. I hope you guys all got that. Somebody's up $520. I'm not sure who it is. But somebody's up $520, folks. But we'll get that up in a second. Anyway, when I got my backer, God rest his soul, Robert Winkleman, who passed away last summer, he just approached me, actually. We were playing stud high-low one day. He noticed I was playing a lot. He liked my game. He came up to me and he said, hey, do you like to play tournaments? I said, I'd love to. We started talking about it. He asked if I wanted a backer. Flop is ace, 9, 7. Seat number 1 has an ace, has ace, deuce of clubs. Nobody else has much of anything. Actually, nobody else has anything. There's 2 spades out there, and nobody's got spades. Another 9. Nobody has a 9. And actually, I apologize there. Carlos has a 9. And once again, Eric did not bet his ace. Now he's going to bet his ace, but he lets Carlos get there with trip 9s now. Oh, man. And now how do you like your ace deuce? I think it's a pretty easy hand to get away from. Obviously, you can't even beat a real ace. And obviously, you're in really bad shape against the 9. Carlos shows him the 9 and takes it down. So anyway, back to my point. So Robert Winkleman approached me about playing tournaments. Asked if I'd like a backer. He saw that I had a couple of nice finishes here and there in some tournaments, some final tables, and he agreed to put me in, I want to say, 3 or 4 World Series events. You know, some of the smaller events. He wasn't ready to put me in a $10,000 event. I guess my thought is if you really want to get backed, don't bug people for it. You know what I mean? Start playing in some small tournaments and do well. You know, make yourself the type of person that somebody would want to invest in. You know, there's always a question. If somebody keeps harping, somebody keeps bugging me to invest in them, my question is, why are you not a very good poker player or something? Why am I investing in you? Maybe it's a faulty thought by me. I'm not sure. Get a small raise here out of the small blind. John's going to raise it out of ace-queen. And Carlos, I believe, is going to call with the pocket fives. And what is Jerry going to do at 5-7 suited? The raise is only up to $20. $20 more. And that's going to bring Jerry in. The pot is quickly about 75.
Yep, again, we're playing 5-5 no limit. 300 min, 500 max, restricted buy. And here we go to the flop.
And that's a pretty good flop for Jerry. 5-7 of spades. Reason I say it's a pretty good flop is he's got a naked flush draw, but there's a good chance that his opponents have missed.
It gets checked to him, and he's going to bet here, Dave.
I think it's a pretty easy bet.
Yeah. He's going to bet 75.
Is that John Gluck?
No.
No. Okay. If John was raising with ace-king or ace-queen, he had missed that flop. Jerry takes it down.
Yeah.
Nice semi-bluff there by Jerry. You know what I was getting to this part. When somebody asks you to back them into a tournament, or somebody asks you to back them in a cash game, do you always kind of wonder?
Right. Well, I mean,
why am I backing you?
Well, I'm going to throw a name out there at you. And again, I don't need to gossip about this gentleman, but it's pretty widely known. He's a good tournament player, but he always seems to be broke. Is Raymond Davis?
Right.
Okay.
Well, he has terrible money management.
Exactly. So you wonder, is it a good investment where he's got the skill, but his money management is always such that he's broke because he goes and, blows it in Pai Gow.
Yeah.
Or blows it in crap.
I was actually going to tell you the player that backed me, Robert Winkleman, actually used to back Raymond occasionally. And he would tell me all the time that he would win a $92,000 tournament.
Right.
And play some cash games, lose it, and within a week, he'd be asking people to back him into a $300 tournament.
Right. Got a raise here out of the blinds. Ace-queen got limped around. And Dave is going to raise. He's going to raise it 40 more.
Is Gus going to get involved with he's got an ace rag here. Now, he's not going to get play.
Ace-6 suited. He's out of there. Now, seat number 7, Tyler also has ace rag suited. He folds. And I think
nobody's going
Sean's
to play this.
fold. And the other thing, too, actually, about tournaments, like I said, it's very rare that I back somebody in a tournament or back someone, in anything for that matter. But in a tournament, the tournament life is a tough one. A lot of these guys might not have the greatest cash game money management skills. So there might be some maybe positive expected value in backing somebody in a tournament. But, would you ever back somebody in a cash game? Don't you think that's a little bit different? Don't you have almost as much confidence in yourself than anybody else in terms of investing in the money?
I guess I would back somebody in a cash game if I thought they were a really good player and they just were, for whatever reason, they wanted to share the risk a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And
like
I thought they
the
could
risk.
beat the game.
Yeah.
If I look at a game like this, would I back like a player like Gus in a game like this? Yeah, I probably would. Hey, I don't think Gus would want me to back him.
Right.
But hey, if he's going to let me buy 25% of him, why wouldn't I? He's a pretty good player. He probably beats this game.
Look at this. John is limped in the cutoff with pocket jacks. And the button has raised 30 more. And a lot of times you might think, well, that's a move you might pull with Corporation Mike on your left on the button. I don't know about this play. See what John's going to do. Is he going to pull the limp rear? We haven't seen that much aggression from him all night. I guess it's one way to play it, but I got to tell you, when I've got pocket jacks in the cutoff, I raise after a bunch of limpers.
Yeah, I'd probably say I probably raised 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. He's going to pull the limp re-raise.
Yep.
And that always gets you to think. I mean, would somebody limp in the cutoff to try to pull the limp rear raise with only one person?
Well, this would confuse me. You know what I mean?
Right.
If I had like Ace King here, Ace
Yeah.
Queen, I'd probably put this guy in like pocket sixes, thinking he was just trying to win the pot right.
And you might even come over the top of him.
Well, if there was enough dead money in the pot, I might call with Ace Queen or Ace King, where I wouldn't call an early limper.
Sean's out of there, and
I mean-
John shows him the jacks.
I mean, I always wonder if somebody says to me, "Hey, will you back me in a cash game?" My first question is this guy, can he not play poker, or is he just bad at money management?
Right.
Or if I'm backing him in a tournament. Now, if somebody's bad at money management, let's say example for Raymond Davis, but he's obviously a very good tournament poker player, well, I'd have no problem backing somebody like that.
Right.
Because I don't care. Hey, if he wins 100,000, he gives me 50 of it, and he blows his 50. I don't care. I still win. And with so much dead money in tournaments these days, it might not be a bad investment if you're throwing. I mean, let's say there's 500 people in a $300 tournament,
Right.
and you're backing Raymond Davis in that tournament. Well, Raymond Davis is clearly better than 500 to 1 odds to win that tournament.
Carlos is going to make a little mini raise here with Ace Queen suited. Seat 7's going to call. Well, I think what you pointed out is a little bit different. You know, again, if you know that there's a good player with money who's got bad money management, or there's a guy that's just trying to hedge the risk, I think that's a little bit different than, say, somebody who's been broke for, say, a long time, and you might
Right.
not necessarily have confidence in their poker skills. 4-way action here. King 4 deuce rainbow. But again, it's just a personal thing, Dave. I really usually do not get involved with that stuff. I mean, that's just, you know, and it's nothing personal against people that might ask me to back them. Like, they got to understand.
I mean, I'll throw an example out at you, though, in a second after this hand.
Gets checked over to Sean. It looks like he's going to bet with middle pair.
I like the bet here. I don't think anybody can call this.
He's in position.
And that's the power position. That's the reason you're calling with 3-4. You're not necessarily calling in position with 3-4 to hit your hand. You're also calling because there's a chance that everybody else folds. You can just, I mean, everybody else checks to you. You can just take it away.
Yep.
And he does. And let's just say, for example, there was a 25-50 game going on. And the game was very, very juicy. I mean, I'm talking about all the 5-10 fish that we normally see are playing in this juicy 25-50 game.
Right.
But you're not comfortable buying in for $5,000.
Right.
And you look at me and you go, hey, Dave, do you want to play in it? And I go, you know what? I don't want to take a $5,000 swing.
Yeah.
But I know we can kill the game. Might you take somebody else and say, hey, why don't you throw $2,500, I'll throw $2,500, and you play? That might be a different type of circumstance.
Absolutely.
Where the game is really good and you go, you know what, if we hit big here, you could win 15, 20 grand in a game like that.
Right. $15 raise here by, that is Jerry. Ace 10 offsuit. Seat 7's going to call with 10-8 of clubs, it looks like. Seat 9's in there with ace deuce of clubs, so if clubs come out, we're going to see a war. 5-way action here, $75 bet. And again, kind of building up a pot here out of position with ace 10. Well, if I comes out ace king 9, and do you have any idea where you're at with ace 10? I assume that he's going to bet, maybe see where he's at. It is a rainbow board. The problem here is if the board came out as a 2 flush, and you get called in a couple spots, you just get no idea where you're at.
Well, the problem is, what is he's going to bet here.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if Sean is going to call or not, but if Sean calls this, do you like your hand?
I don't think Sean. I think Jerry's putting up a nice size. He's betting 100 here into about a $70 pot.
Now, obviously, it's a little easier in a game like this where Sean's only got $200 anyway. If Sean moves all in, you're still going to call him. It's only $100 more.
Interesting, another thing that Jay Siegel brought up about Chicago that I've never really had before
Yeah.
is deep dish pizza. Real deep dish pizza. I've been to a
Yeah.
pizzeria. You know,
That is.
If I heard, and maybe I'm not correct, that some of these places you actually have to call in advance hours beforehand to order the pizza.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 5-inch deep dish pizza, right?
And I'm checking this book. Jay Siegel actually is going to be here on Thursday. Jay, bring your cards. I want you to do that trick for Bart.
Oh.
Jay's actually he's a great magician.
Yep.
Did a card trick for me and Isaac, and we're still, awed by it. He said he was going to do it for you, but he never did it. He made that other magician guy look like, whatever.
I haven't seen that other magician guy around in a while.
Yeah, see, Isaac sent a good trick. I mean, it was a rocket. It was a great trick. I'm still like, what did he do?
Sean's going to raise here with pocket 10s.
Maybe we can get it on camera. Put it on our archives.
He's going to make it 40 to go here.
All sorts of new stuff popping up on our website and the archives. If you want to subscribe to the archives, just go to liveatthebike.com, top left-hand corner, click on it, and for $14.95 a month, you get everything. Every show we've ever done, every interview we've ever done, You get the inside straight. You get it all. Really a great learning tool.
Dave is going to call here with Queen 10 of Hearts.
And mildly entertaining, I might add.
Yes. And we're heads up. 10's against Queen 10 here. About an $80 pot. Here we go. Jack Deuce Deuce. Somebody's happy at the table.
Yeah.
Well, this is probably going to go bet fold, I would imagine. Unless Dave is planning on making some sort of move. We threw a $60 bet out here, and he's going to fold.
He's not playing. Now, we actually never answered that question, the email question. His question was, how do I get a backer?
Sorry. It's all about us, not the system.
And what I was saying was, what I said was, I said if you really want a backer, I go play some tournaments.
Right.
Get some in the money finishes. Get some final table finishes.
Yeah.
Have a pretty good record. Show that you can play. And I'm assuming that he's talking about tournaments. It's a little harder to document cash games, or play a lot of cash games with players that might recognize you. And play well.
Say for instance, between now and the World Series, I won another PokerStars tournament, that weekly one. That's the only weekly one.
The Omaha tournament.
The Omaha tournament. Might I be able to get backed by somebody, or at least partially backed in the 5,000
Definitely.
World Series?
And somebody might even approach you about it.
Yeah.
But I like to say, if you treat yourself, treat poker like a business.
Right.
Treat it with respect. Don't annoy people.
Right. Ace 9-5 here with a couple of spades. Gets checked around. The turn is another ace.
King Queen's the best hand, isn't it?
It looks that way. It doesn't look like anyone's putting money in the pot.
He's got nut, no pair.
River's a 4.
Well, he's let Tyler get there.
Tyler's backed into the best hand here. Looks like this one's going to get checked down. It's funny. Somebody emailed me about that Omaha tournament, or someone was actually talking to me in the tournament on Sunday. He said that he pointed me to this website where it gives kind of online reviews for online tournaments. And apparently that is one of the most difficult fields in any weekly tournament.
Oh, I bet.
That Omaha tournament.
Well, you don't see you see beginners going, they see Hold'em on TV, they watch Live at the Bike, they go, okay, I'm going to go play. And, of course, I'm going to play No Limit Hold'em.
Right.
Not many, actually, funny story, but not many players obviously jump in and play Omaha. My wife, actually, she wanted to play Sit and Go, so she logged in under one of my accounts. One of the reasons why I don't really understand why people even keep track of how people play, because multiple players are playing on the same account sometimes. But anyway, my wife logs into my account in one of our sites, and she goes to play Sit and Go. And suddenly she's dealt 4 cards. she was like, what the hell do I do with this?
Would you sign up for an Omaha High? I gotta tell you,
no, it was an Omaha High-Low, but she was still like, oh no.
I'm down about $400 or $500. With Party Poker, when they first made that transition, they've got some new software. I don't know if you've been on it in a while. It's a little bit hard to find a game because all the Omaha games are all linked together, the high and the low. And if you sort it by table stakes, I've actually entered Limit 1020 Omaha High a couple times by accident and not realized it.
So you look at your hand, you're like ace, deuce, 3, king, and you're like, oh, this is a big hand.
And I was jamming some guy with the nut flush draw with nut low on the turn with backup. And I lost the whole pot. I'm like, what the hell? I didn't make my flush, and I realized, and I'm like, well, I got low, but it didn't get chopped up. We had a raise here by Gus with King Jack. 10-3-6 with a couple, 9-3-6 with a couple spades. Doesn't look like this one hit anybody. And Gus, let's see if he fires out. I mean, he's got 4 people. I guess when I bring this in for a raise, I like the post-flop aggression. But if I bring something in like King-Queen suited or King-Jack suited and I get 3 callers behind me, this is probably check-fold for me.
Yeah.
Take it as, that's my style, but I just...
And look at this, Tyler's going to say, I don't think so.
He's going to check raise.
Good for him.
I mean, position is everything in this game. You get called by 3 people in position.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand what Gus is trying to do, but sometimes I think you got to pick your spots a little better, right?
Yeah, but this board didn't really. You think this board's like, it looks like it hit somebody? 9-6-3, 2 spades? I mean, is that a scary board?
I just don't think that my hand is going to be good enough to throw out a bet into 4 people.
Okay.
I mean, I don't even have ace-king. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just...
Well, ace-king, king-jack make no difference here.
Right.
You're betting on the fact that everybody else has missed.
But again, oftentimes when we talk about somebody who might make a call with overcards.
That's right. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, Gus. You got nothing.
Turn was a jack there.
And a good bet by Tyler. There you go.
So again, you wonder if Gus had actually checked that and got checked around. Tyler check raised it from up front. The jack would have come on the turn.
Yeah.
Just, interesting thing to point out. So what was I anyways about the Omaha?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just,
You're down that much. That's funny. That's hysterical.
Omaha is a game that takes study. You need to be a good poker player. And people that still play it regularly don't understand all the aspects of the game. And oftentimes, again, Shirley Rosario, she'll write about that. So that's pretty much what she plays, the 30-60 ring Omaha games.
Well, you talk to a lot of players where they say they play a lot of games well, but they do specialize in one or two. I think TJ Kludiak said he would say, I think you can specialize in 3 games at most. Anything over that, you can still be a great poker player, but they're not your best.
Seat 4 is going to bring this one in for a raise. 9-10 a diamond. Seat 5 is going to call here with King Queen. And we got 4-way action here. Pocket 7's there for Eric. Golden Flop comes up 9-6-9. And Ron, who raised it pre-flop, has hit trips. Is he going to bet? There's 2 spades out there. Sean has a flush draw. But actually, you know what? Who's going to take the bet is Eric. He's going to bet. Now, I got to tell you, I raise here with 9-10 almost 80 to 90% of the time. And he is going to raise.
And I like the raise. That way, if Sean folds and you get it heads up, the guy checks you on the turn, you can bet again.
Yeah.
And then if you want to, you can take a free showdown. There are a lot of ways you play it.
He raises immediately with trip 9s.
You've got to realize that if you get played with, if you have 9s here, if you have trip 9s and you get played with and it's a pretty big pot, in all likelihood your opponent has a 9 also.
Yeah, there's one other possibility that he might play back at you big, and that might be 7-8 of spades here.
Yeah, specifically that hand, exactly.
Yeah.
And if he has 7-8 of spades, I don't mind playing with him because if a 10 comes and gives him the straight, it's no good.
Right. But again, when we talk about trips and you're evaluating your kicker, Eric limped from up front. So what kind of hands would he limp from up front with a 9? And he actually called your raise.
You've got to figure out exactly.
I mean, maybe Jack 9 suited, but I don't think that's a hand that you necessarily play from up front from a raised pot, right?
More likely hit an 8-9 suited. In that case, your 10 is in good shape.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if you're playing against somebody in the blind, you have no idea. You could say, okay, it's 9X, and then you have no clue what he has.
Now look at this. Sean is going to do this. He's going to make this mistake again. He's calling a bet and a raise with a dry flush draw on a paired board. He did it maybe an hour ago with King 7 of clubs.
And if the 10 of spades were to come off, it would not be good.
That's right. And now, I mean, if you're Eric, I mean, you threw that bet out. I don't mind the bet. Get away from it.
I love the bet.
Get away
I actually
from
love the bet by Eric. You bet there.
Yeah. You get raised, you get a caller behind you.
You get raised. The problem is the caller. You can get raised by a 6. You can get raised by a 6 to see where you're at.
Yeah.
But the guy who's smooth calling, you know what? I can pick a better spot.
And here we go to the turn. Turn's an ace. Let me throw this out at you. If you're Ron here, and the turn was a spade, and the guy checks to you, do you bet again? Well, now he's going to move all in. The ace comes on the turn, and that's probably going to get him out. Well, the funny thing is that, Sean has committed so much money to this hand. There's only one card to come. He needs a spade that's not the 10 of spades.
Well, this is a math problem. If you count that and you go, okay, well, I've got 8 or 9 outs, you got to look at it and go, well, there's 44 cards that I don't know about.
Yeah.
Or actually 46 cards that I don't know about.
Well, lucky for Sean, he wasn't on the nut flush draw. Because if he was on the nut flush draw and you checked and this guy moved all in on the turn, you might not put him on an ace. He might be scared. He might have moved in with king.
And he's going to call anyway.
He
calls
calls
a spade. It's not a 10.
Yeah.
Pot is quickly about $500.
River's a 6. It's no good. But I'm going to say, throw that out, you Dave. Say you made a raise of 9-10. Bet, raise, call, fold. Now the turn's a spade.
Yeah.
How do you play it when it gets checked to you? Would you take the free card sometimes? Would you bet, and if you get check raised, would you reevaluate? I mean, you could easily be up against the guy with the 9. Would you bet the turn and take a showdown, like we talk about? I guess it all depends on the player. If you're against a good player, you can't put him on a flush draw there, right, if you raise the pot, because he's not going to call with a flush draw on the flop.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, depending on what player I'm playing against, I might take the free card. I'd more likely probably bet the turn.
Yeah.
And if I get called, if I don't improve, I'd probably take the free showdown.
Now, what if you get check raised, though?
I'm probably done with it.
Yeah.
I've got to reevaluate at that point. But at that point, is somebody check raising me with a hand worse than 9-10?
Right.
Man, I mean, that would mean that he's check raising with trip 9s with a flush out there. That's pretty ballsy.
But again, though, against other players, they might have called you with the flush, and you might have a flush.
Right.
Like you said, it depends on the player.
Yeah, I mean, I might bet, and I might bet kind of like a let's say the pot was 300, I might bet 150 into the pot.
Yeah.
If the guy calls and then checks the river, hey, if I fill up, I'll bet it. If I don't fill up, I'll just take the free showdown.
Interesting post here on 2+2 by Baron Vager Toth. Regarding backing, it seems to me that a lot of people you would want to back aren't going to ask you for backing. I think that's a pretty good point.
Yeah, that is the point.
Yeah.
I mean, you always wonder if somebody's coming to you and asking you to back you in a cash game, going, man.
King 10-7 here, Rainbow.
Dave is open-ended. He also has backdoor clubs. Now, this is the kind of flop that I really like if you're open-ended. Now, obviously, a jack out there, you don't have the nuts. But it's one of those things where you have backdoor draw. It is a rainbow board, so you're not worried about a flush draw. And on top of that, there's a good chance maybe somebody has a king.
Now, seat 3, Dave is bet out here with 8-9.
Now, I bet this flop also, and I want to get some money on the flop because I don't want ace-queen in there. So if I hit my jack, I know it's the nuts.
This is a great flop for Jack 9. Again, that would be double gutted. I want a big pot like that on Friday.
Yeah. And Jack 9 would have gotten there right there. Now, Dave actually has a pair with the flush draw, and he's going to bet it. And if he puts some pressure on Carlos, it's a tough spot for him to call, and he's not going to call. Nice semi-bluff by Dave.
Not quite the flush draw there, but he's got a pair in the open-ended straight draw.
And I hate to beat a dead horse here, but I'm going to say it one more time. It's funny, we were saying to this guy who emailed us about backing, we're saying, well, if you want to get backing, show people that you're a good player. Show, have some in-the-money finishes in tournaments, have some final table finishes. But at that point, do you really want backing?
Well, let me throw this out at you now that I think of it more and more. Say I came to you.
Yeah.
Say for some reason tomorrow there was a $150, $300 Omaha game going out there. And I said, do you want to go halvesies with me? That might be something that you would be interested in, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
If I thought the game was live,
yeah.
and I knew a couple of players in that game, and I said, wow.
Say like a Philly Owls in there to gill some of those tournament players.
I'll give you an example, actually.
Yeah.
The night Shirley was here.
Yeah.
I want to say when it was a $1,000 no-limit hold'em and she lost.
Yeah.
There was a 100-200 mix game out there.
Yeah.
And it was Omaha. And I offered to put her in. The problem, it was a mixed game, and she didn't like the other mixes.
What was it, like a stud high-low?
It was stud high-low, it was Padoogie, and it was deuce to 7. And she wasn't comfortable with the other games.
Right.
But I was going to go, I would have gone half with her definitely in the Omaha section. And yeah, if you could get into a 50-100 or a 150-300 Omaha game,
right.
I'd definitely back you in that.
5 deuce here. And the
I mean,
same
if
thing,
you
like
lost,
if you
I would cut your legs off.
Right. Same thing if you were to come to me, or if I would come to you with, like, say, limit hold'em. If we thought there was a juicy 1-2 limit hold'em game that was ever spread.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
I'm not mad at you.
I mean, that game. Remember back in August when Jerry Buss played in that really juicy 400-800 limit hold'em game.
Yeah.
Man, that game was fabulous.
Dave's gonna bet here with the overpair. He bets 50. The only time that you see those exclusive games, and we'll see this at the World Series, those high-low split games at a high level when it's not a mix, is usually around the World Series. Traditionally, say a 50-100 stud-high-low game will go. You said you played in that sometimes, right? Last year.
50-100 stud high-low. You'll also get the 50. You also get a 25-50 pot limit Omaha high game.
Yeah.
Which is a great game. But oftentimes if you're playing really big, which is you're playing 400, 800, 300, 600.
Right.
Oftentimes there aren't that many players that play that high.
Yeah.
And to appease all the players, they all want to play their favorite game.
Right.
So you usually get 3 or 4 games in there.
And the reason why we got that limit hold'em game on here sometimes was because Jerry Buss only plays limit hold'em.
Exactly.
So they appease him. Everybody else says, you know what, tonight
we'll just play limit hold'em.
And I got to tell you, we saw some of those guys that play mixed games at Yosha's games that were good mixed game players were kind of weak in hold'em.
Yeah, limit hold'em was probably their weakest game. Yeah.
Real weak in limit hold'em.
Well, it's one of the reasons why some people will ask us, hey, should I learn how to play a lot of games? Well, yeah, you should, because you look at this exact point where if it's a mixed game and it's 150-300 and you're really comfortable in the Omaha section,
right?
But you're not comfortable in deuce to 7 triple draw.
Exactly.
Well, you got to learn how to play that game so you can kick ass in the Omaha section.
Right.
It's like that one guy that said he plays the fifth horse in the fifth race.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, here we go. Limped around 5 ways.
All right, 3 queens. 5-5, yes!
Wow, trip 5s for Gus.
Wow, how many times has he flopped trip 5s?
Well, that was it's usually trip queens, actually. I think 5s are somebody else.
And,
and it's actually seat 2s.
Gus is really, I respect his game a lot. I would expect him to bet here on this flop, even though it's a rainbow flop. And, I think a lot of people know that he's aggressive. Remember last time he got that guy to check raise him with bottom pair.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, if you bet this, and this is not that aggressive of a table, but if you bet this at an aggressive table, sometimes people will
He
say...
actually checked it, Dave. I don't necessarily buy that at this table. I think
I don't
turns
like
a
the play.
king. Well, now Jerry's hit top pair. Is he going to get involved? Gus bets 15.
And I got to tell you, I throw this away if I'm Jerry.
I mean, Jerry, you've got king 7. He's going to... No, he just called.
No, actually, mini raise.
Did he mini raise?
I think so. 15 to 30.
Gus is just going to call. I guess Gus is
Why
just
not
gonna,
mini raise again?
Yeah, I guess Gus is just going to call and bet the river. And now if he raised with hearts... I still think you bet here if you're Gus. If he chose to call, now he's going to bet.
Now, Jerry voluntarily entered this pot, so you wouldn't necessarily put him on a big 5.
Well, now Jerry can't beat anything. He can't beat a real king. If Gus bet a flush draw on the turn, he can't beat that, and he can't beat a 5. It's almost a no-brainer fold here.
And
He
Jerry
pays him
calls.
off. Yeah.
And Gus gets this action because he gives action.
Right.
Gus does bluff once in a while, and that's why he gets it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you never bluff, you never give any action, you won't get any action.
Right.
You got to realize that.
I got crushed on those 5.
And again, Jerry's probably going to fold that hand to maybe everybody else on the turn there.
Yeah.
But against Gus,
He feels he has to play it.
yep.
I think we're getting a new setup here. I'd like to point out, we go through so many cards here.
Looks like the stream was great tonight, Dave.
Well, that's
Keep our
great.
fingers crossed.
Fabulous news.
Yep. Again, join us tomorrow for Wednesday whale game.
Yeah, you know what I did? I stayed after I played a little No Limit Hold'em. I actually stayed late, and I worked on the technical aspects of our stream.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Isaac left.
Isaac doesn't hear. I don't think Isaac's listening to what you're saying.
Isaac left,
He
and
would
Garo
appreciate it.
left, and Evelyn left. And it's obvious they didn't know what they were doing. So I came in here, I fiddled around with it, and obviously whatever I did worked. I'll take full credit for it, okay?
Button's going to move over here to seat 2. Again, you can email us at live@thebike.com with your questions, comments, suggestions. We get about a little under maybe 15, 20 minutes left in the show. So there you go. Button's moved over here, seat 2. Ben Powell says, Bard on party, you can filter the tables however you like. Yeah, I know that, but before I got accustomed. I'm not like some of those players that play, thousands of hands a day.
Right,
When it
obviously.
first happened, I made the mistake a couple times of
You
entering
put
a
it
pot limit
Omaha.
high.
Yeah.
I didn't know that pot limit high 10, 20 limit games even existed.
Yeah.
I guess you can find a game anywhere on the internet.
I
But
like
geez,
Omaha High.
As a limit game?
No, as a pot limit.
Yeah. I mean, as a limit game, I've never seen that game
It
spread.
was funny. I played 5. I was playing during Legends. I was playing 5-5 pot limit Omaha here.
Yeah.
And I wanted to play it at the World Series, but I didn't want to play it at 25-50.
Look at this. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-way action here. We had a raise, I believe. Was it by Jerry?
Well, and he's got a commanding control of this hand here.
Yeah, he's got an overpair. 5-3-3 with 2 hearts, and he's going to bet. Now, John's going to not going to get involved with this, is he here?
I don't think so. Well, the only thing you're wondering is Jerry tilting. Now, we know Jerry doesn't really tilt. But does John know that?
We also know that if Jerry were to raise here with ace-king, he's not the type that's going to throw in a bet into 6 players.
Yeah.
I just don't buy
But
it.
now, in John's defense, though, he doesn't know Jerry.
Right.
He just saw Jerry throw off about $80 to Gus. Thinks maybe this guy missed the flop. I mean, John does have an overpair, and if he thinks Jerry's steaming a little bit, hey.
It's a huge, it's a pot-sized bet, a good bet here, 140 bucks.
Well, I mean, you can't call this. It's basically you're raising all in or you're throwing it away.
Well, the other thing, I don't want to say, both sides of it, and I don't want to hammer Jerry. It's almost an over-the-pot size bet. Now, Jerry's got about 200 left. Is it almost a slight over-bet in the fact that if you get raised or called, he's going to feel like he's committed for the hand? Because that pretty much, with that bet,
Yeah, he is.
you're only going to get called by a hand that beats you. And remember, maybe not necessarily in this
Well-
game, but as you move up in no limit, and I keep trying to hammer this point, especially sometimes when you get heads up, somebody might have smooth called you with a higher overpair if you have 10s, jacks, or queens, and that is another hand you can't beat.
Obviously, your point is well said in a bigger game.
Right.
In this game, I like to play only because I think he gets called maybe by 8s and 9s.
Okay.
I also think he might get called by 2 high hearts.
Yeah.
I mean, what's he supposed to do? Bet 15 to it and get 3 callers, and then a queen comes up and he loses?
I'm just throwing it out at you.
In this game, I actually think it's a fine play because you might get called. I mean, John almost called him with 6s. I mean, if John's got 9s there, he might call.
John's got Jacks, and he's limped in here again. Remember, he limped re-raised in the cutoff about a half an hour ago with Jacks.
Well, this is kind of middle position.
Yeah.
Thank you for the email. Get a nice email here from William Frick.
Limp here.
Now, look, William Frick was born in Chicago in 1952.
Now, the more and more I think about it, the more and more I think about deep dish pizza, man. Whew.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Nice buttery crust.
Pizza sucks out here in L.A.
Yeah, there's
one thing, man.
Something to do with the water.
It sucks.
You know, call me like a geek, a dork, but I actually love to do old American touristy things. Ace 5 king here, all hearts.
Well, now John's hand, normally that flop's pretty ugly for John, but John actually has a second nut flush draw. Obviously not much to hang your hat on, but he does have the Jack of Hearts in his hand.
Well, Jerry's going to come out bet with Ace 9 here. And if you're John, do you get involved? I mean, you know you're drawing only the hearts, and it is not the nuts. But he calls. And again, a reason why you might not get involved is not only are you not going to get action from someone if a heart comes, but again, even if you get people who call behind you, you don't know if you're good. Twofold, right? Turns
you might even want to raise it. I mean, raising it might be the best way to play this hand.
Jerry's going to lead out again here.
And look at now with the tens, he was putting out almost half his stack.
Right.
This time he's kind of looks a little bit nervous, and you wonder if John were to check raise him, say make it 200.
Or raise here in the position.
Exactly, raise in position here. Can Jerry call with just Ace 9?
Well, the river's a deuce. And is Jerry going to throw a little kind of blockish bet out here?
It looks like it, yeah.
Yeah, that's a blockish bet.
Now, I think John missed the opportunity to raise. I don't think he can get away with it now. But I think if John had raised the turn, I think he can represent two pair or even a flush. And I don't know if Jerry can call here with just Ace 9, especially the 9 of hearts.
I can't imagine that John's just going to call here. Unless he thinks he's totally a missed heart.
No, the problem is those, okay, what would Jerry bet? He might bet the nut heart draw, which would be the queen, and he hit it on the turn.
Right.
You can't even beat that anymore. I mean, let's say he was in there with queen blank.
I think John didn't just think that one through, and the ace is good. Yeah.
I mean, what was Jerry betting with? The 10 of hearts?
Right. If the queen hadn't come, you might make a very, very small call thinking the guy was bluffing on hearts.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people will bet with, say, the ace of hearts being the nut draw, right?
Right.
Well, in that case, the queen of hearts would have been the nut draw, but the queen comes. Now, you have the jack of hearts, so now you got to say, okay, Jerry's not betting with an ace. Well, maybe he's betting with a 10 of hearts. I mean, that's really reaching. When you start manufacturing hands that you can beat, obviously your game is, not at its best.
You know what I was saying is I'm a sucker for old American English history. What I mean by that is I'm not all that interested in like stuff out here, like Spanish stuff, but I'm a sucker for Boston, Philly, and New York, all that old, brownstone stuff.
Yeah.
I think you can find a lot of that in Chicago too.
Oh,
so I'll go around on like those tours and those old they got some great graveyard tours in Boston. Those spooky graveyards from the 1600s with the headstones
out
still
here
up.
they consider like 1930 old.
Right. Got a $30 raise here by seat number 4. He's on the button. Okay, he's going to raise with King 10 suited.
If you're raising on the button, I mean, the cards don't nearly mean as much.
Eric's going to call with a little suited connector over there. And Johnny concurs with his fellow 2+2ers. Like most old men, I appreciate a good stream. There you go.
6-6 deuce, not a bad flop for Jerry, but a better flop for Gus. He's flop trips.
Now, what is Gus going to do in the cutoff here?
Now, the funny thing is, if Gus bets this, that would probably make Jerry think that he has nothing. Or maybe Jerry thinks he has a deuce.
You know what? Jerry's going to come out and bet now. He's going to bet with 4s.
Now, if you're Gus, do you raise it right now?
I think against Jerry, who's more likely to call you down, you might.
Yeah.
For an image thing.
Now, the only difference is you are in position.
Yeah.
But the problem is if you call this, that kind of raises the, wait a second, what is this guy smooth calling me with?
Well, also, specifically with Jerry's hand here, if Gus just calls, every card on the turn is an action killer for Jerry's hand.
Exactly.
With the exception of a 4, where you lose.
I think you're right. I mean, to me, you raise this. Try to represent like you think the other guys.
How about you mini raise it here? I'm always a fan of I will mini raise hands that I'm not comfortable with, and I'll mini raise with my monsters as well. It's a.
Wow, and is he putting that much money in?
Well, no, it was a $75 bet. He's going to make it $175. It looks like.
Okay.
Now, the problem here, though, is with these stack sizes, he's pretty much pot committed.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
Yeah. Now, Jerry can't even... I mean, I bet you Gus is hoping that Jerry might be doing pocket 8s, pocket 9s, pocket 10s, where he'd be more likely to call. But there's nothing Jerry can beat here.
Well, he can beat a deuce.
Right.
And the thing is that Gus would make this move. We've seen Gus make this move before with, say, a deuce, thinking you are weak. Because the question is, would Jerry bet out with a 6? And if Gus doesn't think Jerry would bet out with a 6, well, hey, he can represent, can he?
Again, though, I think maybe for Jerry, he'd get more involved if he had 7, 8s, or 9s there. Overbear of the board is a much different story.
Good post here by Baron Vangertoe. It's well said, actually, in the sense that he's not really, he's talking about backing as opposed to, say, pooling.
Or hedging.
Your bet.
Right. Pocket ace is here for John. Seat 8. He's going to raise it up to 25. Now, this is the first time we've seen John raise pre-flop here.
And we get a chip count here. Chip count's up to $5,000. Carlos is the most money. He's got $1,000. He's really had a pretty good night. Nice turnaround for him. Let's see how they're doing. And Carlos, sure enough, is the big winner. He's up $700. Ron up $500. Eric is our big loser. He's down $600.
Well, John didn't get a call, so it didn't matter. He raised with aces. I was going to say, it was the first time John's raised it up pre-flop.
That's kind of raise your eyebrow, huh?
I sometimes wonder if the people in the booth are listening to what we're saying. But then again, I think, on the other side of that, do I blame them? Because who the hell could listen to us for 3 hours in their ears while they're doing all this kind of technical stuff?
3 hours. Think about it. 3 hours, 5 days a week for over a year now, Bart. Sometimes it amazes me, actually, that you and I have enough to talk about.
I know.
I mean, sometimes I leave home, and my wife looks at me and goes, "What are you and Bart going to talk about tonight?" And I go, "I don't know." And she goes, "Well, how do you guys still have anything to talk about?" I go, "I don't know. It just comes up."
Lived around here. And
It really is
like
phenomenal.
A mini race.
I mean, I don't want to pat myself on the back or you, but hey, we really are amazing. Phenomenal.
Yeah, don't pat yourself on the back. And seat 9 is going to raise here. He's going to raise it 50 more. Now, Dave, again, we had a little mini raise to 15. I think it might have been by Gus. And this might be a little bit of a different situation because it was Gus. Sean is going to re-raise 50 more with ace-jack offsuit. Gus is going to get away from it. But it kind of brings it back to that concept of making another re-raise with ace-jack out of position. But I guess if it was Gus, you might figure, I can raise here and pick up all the dead money. I don't give Gus credit for it.
That's a way to play it. It's better than calling. You know what I mean? Better than calling, and then you don't know what you're rooting for. If you're raising that...
I don't have a problem with... I mean, if a guy raises to 15 in a 5-5 game and I'm $5 in the big line, I don't have any problem with smooth calling with the ace-jack
that's fine, but
offsuit.
I don't mind raising there and picking up dead money. I mean, it's a way to play it.
Right.
Now, back to Baron Vangertoe, as you were saying here. Now, obviously, you can go 50-50 if some juicy game comes up and you don't want to risk a significant part of our bankroll, which is what we were talking about. But on the other side, I would back certain players in a game if I just thought it was good money. Let's say I'm playing in a good 5-10 game. I don't need them to take any part of me, but I think they're a really good player and they want to play in this game. I might put them in there. The more I'm watching Gus, I don't want any piece of him.
Really? Limbed around 5 ways. Ace, Jack, 7. Well, seat 4 limped in with Ace 10. He's got the best hand here with top pair. He's got about 5 minutes left in the
He hasn't made any money tonight.
Wow, Ron did not bet. Basically in the cutoff there. And Jerry, you're not going to expect to bet out of him. He checked it. See if Ron bets now. Turn was a deuce. And he is going to bet. Now, I might understand maybe checking ace-10 out of the blinds there with 5 people to act, but second one off the button, a little surprising, right?
Yeah, it's one of the things that it really confuses me sometimes when you're playing with players that are less experienced.
Right.
If I'm playing in a hand like this, and let's say I had a jack or I had a weak ace from up front, it'd be really difficult for me to put Ron on a big ace.
Right.
Wait a second. You check that on a flop?
But, you know, usually against somebody who's got ace-10, you can just call, and he'll probably check on the river.
Yeah.
Unless he thinks you're just calling with the jack, and he might value bet you on the river. You never know. Button's going to move over here to John in seat number 8.
Once again, if you want to catch us tomorrow night's our big night. We've got 25, 50 blinds, $3,000 minimum buy-in, unrestricted max buy-in. The game should be action, action, action. I mean, last Wednesday's game, I want to say we've had about $100,000 on the table. $100,000. That's some money.
Yep, four-way action here.
About a $20 pot. 10, 8, 4, 2 spades. And nobody has a pair. Carlos has an open-ended straight draw with backdoor spades. And he bet a little bit and gets called by Sean, who also has an open-ended straight draw. Wow, this is interesting, actually. Carlos is actually still in the hand. He has Jack-9. Jerry is not in the hand. And there it is. Both players have open-ended straight draws. Carlos is in the lead with just a higher cards, though. Oh, wait a second.
He's got a pair of jacks.
Thank you.
And the river's a 9.
Actually, but Sean's got a straight.
Yeah, now Sean makes a straight here. And Sean checked it.
And Carlos has 2 pairs.
And Carlos is going to bet, figuring, you know what? I don't think he would check here. I mean, maybe Sean is scared of spades, and that's why he checked it.
Well, look at the board, though. It's 8, 9, 10 jack.
Oh, that's right. He's got the bottom end of it. Excuse me. You're right.
I do apologize. We kind of fell asleep on this one.
And you think that Carlos, does he think he's betting the superior hand? A lot of people might check Jack-9 there, Dave. But if he thinks he might bet a guy off of a 7, that's amazing. And it works. Look at that.
Well, I mean, you think about it. You have 7, 9 on that kind of board. And one of the reasons you don't really want to go for straights with a 2 flush out there is, bam, you hit your straight, the jack of spades comes out. Congratulations.
Right.
Well, now what do you do?
Right, he made it on the turn. And then the river made his hand even less valuable.
Right, but once he makes it on the turn there, he can't even play it hard because he's scared of spades.
Right.
In No Limit Hold'em, you really want to be going for hands that can be the nuts, so you can play them hard.
Pocket queens here for seat 2. He's in the big blind.
And ace queen for Jerry in seat 6.
So let's see if Jerry's going to raise here a little bit. And he does. He's going to make it 20. And look at that. Seat 8's going to call with 6-7 here. We haven't seen him do that all night. Now against 2 players, Dave is probably going to raise. He probably would have re-raised anyways, but you might finagle it sometimes.
Yeah, when it's only a $20 raise, I want to raise just for value. I want to get more money in the pot. And he's announced it. Another tell that I like to look for, oftentimes when somebody announces a raise and verbally puts it out there, it's usually a little bit stronger than just putting the chips out.
He's going to make it 60 more. Now, again, if you're Jerry, I think you just don't even get involved. I mean, you do have position against the blind, but ace-queen offsuit, boy.
And he's going to call this,
Makes
though.
the quick call.
And
Probably going to send John flying. He doesn't have that much money.
Yeah, he's in bad shape here. Needs an ace and only an ace right now.
So it's about a $150 pot. Here we go to the flop.
And not a real good flop for ace queen.
And you know what, Dave is not that deep. Looks like he's got maybe 300. He's going to bet 100 here.
Yeah.
That's going to do it. Well, we're going to get to our last hand of the night here, Dave. Again, you can join us tomorrow night for $25.50 unrestricted buy-in, no limit whale game. You can also check this show out, as always, on a replay starting an hour after the show, leading up until 5 p.m. Pacific time the next day, and on Sundays, the entire show.
Yeah. I mean, oftentimes I go home, because I kind of miss your voice, Bart. I'll just go home and I'll put it on just so I can listen to you.
Really?
Yeah. You believe that?
Yeah, I went to bed to the sound of the show when I was alone, when you weren't here that day.
That's sweet.
Put it on in the back.
That's really sweet. I
No,
might
didn't do
start
that. I'm just
crying.
kidding.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Gonna raise
That
here.
hits me right here. Oh.
Got a raise here by Ace Jack out of seat 4. Well, Gus has got pocket 7s. He says he's going to call blind.
I'm actually looking forward to the day where I can listen to us on our iPod.
Well, I guess maybe Gus and C2 are playing blind, because C2's got 9-3 here. And the flop comes out 6-6-5. Remember, Ron brought it in pre-flop, and Gus is going to look down. If he called blind, he's going to see an overpair.
Yeah.
665 on the
Hell of a
flop.
blind hand, huh?
You gonna make the play today, Dave? No, I'll make the play.
Remember, Ron brought this one in here for a raise. And Gus is going to bet.
He bets right into it. Now, this is what I like. Now, if you bet your sevens, you bet your flush draw, you bet your straight draw, and you also bet a 6 this way.
You bet 7-8 of clubs, you bet ace.
Well,
No, it's 7,
yeah,
7-8 of
definitely.
clubs, you bet, maybe ace jack of clubs, you bet a 6. You might bet.
You might even bet a 5 there.
Yeah.
If you always bet there, really tough for your opponent to put you on a hand.
Well, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you all for joining us. As always, you can check out cardsharks.com. Some of those guys.
That's with an
nice
X.
shirt. For everybody here in the booth and for Dave Tuckman, I'm Bart Hanson. Good night, everybody, from Live at the Bike.
It's here. It's big. And it's closer than you think. It's not a tournament. It's what you don't see on TV. The cash is real. The stakes are high. They bet big. They win big. They lose big. High stakes live action poker. Live at the Bike. Watch it live on the web or play it if you dare at the Bicycle Casino right here in Los Angeles.